Chapter 229. Silhouettes of people, livestock, flowers, plants, and trees emerged from the surrounding wilderness and rose into the sky. Like a star field, they frantically surged towards Lin Muyu's body. This was the place where all living beings once lived. Lin Muyu seemed to have instantly gathered all the remaining life force on this piece of land and punched out with her left fist, which carried the boundless energy. 3 luminaries, all calamity. This majestic attack was definitely not something to be underestimated. The disdain in the assassin's eyes disappeared as well. Sweeping his longsword horizontally, his dark battle aura frantically poured into the longsword. He chuckled and said, "I didn't expect that there would actually be someone in the future who had mastered such a mysterious martial art. However, it is truly a pity that you are going to die here today." With a shout, as the saying goes, the skilled are bold. This assassin actually slashed out with his sword that was filled with dark battle aura. Was he trying to destroy the 3rd luminary's profound energy with a single slash? Lin Muyu's entire body trembled as she exerted all her strength to gather her battle aura. Milky white battle aura lingered around her body, forming a clear contrast with the mysterious assassin's dark battle aura. Bang! The earth trembled and the surrounding air seemed to have frozen in an instant. A few seconds later, the air suddenly split open and after an explosive sound, the power of the 3 luminaries' all calamity instantly collapsed. However, the assassin's sword aura cut through the profound energy and went straight for Lin Muyu's left arm. Was he trying to cut off one of Lin Muyu's arms? Fortunately, Lin Muyu's reaction was extremely agile as she brazenly moved with the star steps. A loud sound rang out behind her as the long sword slashed onto the ground, causing countless gravel to fly out. The assassin let out a cry of surprise as he probably did not expect that Lin Muyu would be able to dodge this attack. However, his figure was extremely fast as he swiftly closed in on her like a phantom. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. He slashed out 3 times consecutively, forcefully pushing away Lin Muyu's dragon spirit sword once again. Piff! There was a piercing pain as blood splattered from Lin Muyu's left wrist. Furthermore, it was not as simple as an injury, but the tendons of her hand had been cut off by the assassin. Her battle boots rolled away as Lin Muyu retreated in a sorry state. Fresh blood dripped down from her left hand. Not far away, Qin Yin held onto her right arm as her beautiful eyes were filled with despair and sorrow. Lin Muyu did not speak as she quickly retreated with the sword in her right hand. Her beautiful eyes were filled with despair and sorrow. Dark do chi circulated on the sword. The face of the swordsman assassin was filled with a faint smile as he said, "Brat, your left hand is already crippled. Why don't you obediently accept your death and return the sacred tool to me?" Sacred artifact? What sacred artifact? Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. "Stop pretending." The assassin launched himself at Lin Muyu. His long sword transformed into specks of starlight in the air as he slashed at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu had no choice but to reform her battle armor and the walls of her gourd. However, the defenses of the newly formed gourd walls were very weak, and they shattered in an instant. Lin Muyu was stabbed in the chest again, and she fell to the ground in a sorry state. Hua! Above her head, the assassin's aura surged. He suddenly reached out and grabbed the iron ruler on Lin Muyu's back. Could it be that his real target is this iron ruler? Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. She activated the fallen star step in the air and lightly stepped on the ground with her left foot, creating a ripple of starlight. Her nimble body spun in an arc in the air, dodging the opponent's sharp claws. Her boots landed on the arm of the assassin, and with the help of the rebound, she slid more than 10 meters away. She lowered her body slightly to protect the ruler. This was an opportunity. However, his left hand could only hang down, and he could no longer use his strength. The pain of his tendons being cut almost suffocated him, but he did not need to be weak at this time. Weakness would only bring death. He had to be strong and bear everything. "Hey, you are really good, but unfortunately, you still have to die." The assassin walked towards Lin Muyu step by step. Suddenly, his body flickered as he shot towards Lin Muyu like a bolt of lightning. His sword swayed in the air, and the angle and speed of the sword completely exceeded Lin Muyu's ability to react. With a poochie sound, a flower of blood bloomed on Lin Muyu's shoulder. Moreover, the assassin did not pull his sword out after stabbing into her shoulder. Instead, he used the momentum to press Lin Muyu's body down, and a large hand once again reached for Lin Muyu's back. He wanted the ruler again. Lin Muyu endured the pain on her shoulder. Her right hand that was holding the dragon spirit sword suddenly flipped, and blood-red Xian energy circulated. Throw caution to the wind, fourth star. The space quickly distorted, and the ghost god constellation danced around. The assassin's heart was only on the ruler. Just as his palm was about to touch the ruler, his abdomen suddenly suffered a blow from the fourth star. The dark Do Chi shattered into energy forms and circled around. Finally, the attack was effective. The assassin did not get the ruler, but flew back a few meters, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Bastard, you dare to injure me? The assassin wiped the corner of his mouth, and holding the sword, he sneered, I will grant you another way to die. Lin Muyu's heart was in turmoil. What kind of person was this? He actually took the power of the fourth star head-on and was only lightly injured? Furthermore, from the start to the end, Lin Muyu did not see this person summon his martial spirit. Could it be that he was born without a martial spirit? Moreover, his blood-red eyes seemed to contain a demonic power that was unfathomable. Shio! The sword pierced through the air, and Lin Muyu subconsciously blocked it. However, the opponent's speed was too fast. With a flick of the blade, the dragon spirit sword was easily swung away. His movement speed suddenly increased, and his knee landed heavily on Lin Muyu's abdomen. A suffocating feeling came over, and Lin Muyu instantly lost the ability to fight. His right arm suddenly turned cold, and then a scorching power surged into it. Intense pain came, and his heart instantly turned to ashes. It's over. The tendons in his right arm were also broken. Even holding the sword was very difficult. Instantly, despair and helplessness filled the entire Yi. 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor, do you still want to watch the show? Lin Muyu shouted in the Yi. If I die, your primordial spirit will also have no place to reside. Let's see how you die. However, the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor laughed in the Yi. You weak as a chicken, you finally thought of me at this time? But don't worry, once you're dead, I'll immediately go out and subdue this expert in front of me. To be honest, he's much stronger than you. His body is also more suitable for me than yours. It was over. It seemed like the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor was not going to help. Furthermore, the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor did not have a real body. Could the power of a ghost really suppress this mysterious expert in front of him? Give it to me. The iron ruler had already been grabbed by the assassin. With a forceful pull, it was forcibly pulled out from Lin Muyu's back. Haha, the demonic weapon is finally in my hands. Haha, I, Qianyun, am the greatest hero of the celestial race. Ha, he laughed maniacally. Suddenly, he lowered his head and looked at Lin Muyu, as if he was looking at a dying prey. He slowly raised the iron ruler. Instantly, the iron ruler glowed brightly. The killer laughed heartily. Seeing that you've helped me find the demon weapon and sacred weapon, I'll grant you a quick death. Lin Muyu's arms were trembling, and he could not muster any strength. He lowered his hand to control the dragon spiritual sword with fire, but he did not even have 10% of his strength left. What threat could my son pose to this mysterious expert? He raised his head. Blood flowed down his forehead and into his eyes, but his gaze was more determined. He said lightly, "Come." The mysterious assassin sneered and the iron ruler quickly fell. What? At this moment, suddenly, a golden light bloomed on Lin Muyu's forehead. It was the 7th level ability of the Green Gourd Martial Soul, Light of Dawn. Under the bright light, the mysterious expert's eyes were immediately pierced with extreme pain. He hurriedly closed his eyes and roared, "Despicable brat, I will kill you." The iron ruler fell with the wind, but it could not hit him. Lin Muyu had already controlled the dragon spirit sword to return to its sheath. He ran to Qin Yin's side and bent down. "Xiao Yin, get on my back quickly." One of Qin Yin's arms was almost crippled. She hurriedly hugged him with the other hand. Falling star steps, run. As she ran, Lin Muyu did not dare to look back. However, she had already activated the spirit pulse technique. Although her arms were crippled, the strength in her legs was still there. Not far away, Qin Yin's pet, the golden crag swiftwolf, was trembling in the bushes. From the beginning to the end, it did not dare to fight against this mysterious expert. It was as if it was naturally restrained. Behind her, a powerful aura was closing in on her again. Lin Muyu groaned inwardly. She had expended too much of her battle energy, and she was carrying Qin Yin on her back. Her falling star steps movement speed was less than half of what it was at its peak, and she was about to be caught up. "Brother Yu," Qin Yin's beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she said, "Xiao Yin can't be a burden to you anymore. Remember to tell father that Xiao Yin loves him." "What nonsense are you talking about, silly girl?" Lin Muyu scolded. "Shut up and hold me tight." But Qin Yin's arms were slowly loosening. Her tears quickly wetted Lin Muyu's collar. She leaned her face on Lin Muyu's neck and cried, You have to live. Go back and help me take care of father. If Qin Lei and Qin Yan can't take on the responsibility, then let father make you the heir, silly girl." Lin Muyu was secretly anxious. She stopped running and quickly turned around to look at the mysterious assassin who was rushing over like lightning. Just as his long sword was about to pierce into her heart, Lin Muyu suddenly focused all of her spiritual perception on one point and the spirit pulse technique instantly erupted. Soul shock. Wang, the mysterious assassin, instantly froze in place. Although it was very short, it gave Lin Muyu some opportunity. She raised her leg and kicked over without hesitation. True dragon essence fire lingered around her boots as she directly attacked the opponent's Qi. No matter who he was, his dark battle energy originated from his Qi. Lin Muyu had already seen this very clearly. Bang! It was a heavy blow. Unfortunately, the assassin's battle armor was very sturdy. This kick couldn't cripple his Qi. Lin Muyu pulled away and walked away, shouting, "Xiao Yin, hold me tight. Don't give up until the last moment." "Goddamned bastard!" The assassin woke up from the soul shock. In the short span of 3 seconds, he felt that he had suffered the greatest humiliation since his birth. He jumped up with the iron ruler in his hand. Lin Muyu didn't even look back. She locked onto the opponent's position with the spirit pulse technique and suddenly swayed. Under the technique of the sword control technique, the demonic noise saber quickly flew out and disappeared in the air. "What is this?" The assassin looked at the sky in shock. In the next moment, a kacha sound rang out and a huge wound was cut open on his leg. The wound was so deep that bone could be seen. If Lin Muyu's battle energy was a little stronger, she might have been able to cut off his entire leg. "Bastard!" In a rage, the assassin threw the iron ruler out with extreme speed. Chapter 230. Carrying Qin Yin on her back, Lin Muyu naturally couldn't let Qin Yin take the hit. Her body was frail, but Lin Muyu herself had tempered her skin and bones. She turned around and gathered her battle armor in front of her chest. Bang! The iron ruler was sent flying, but Lin Muyu coughed up a mouthful of blood. 2 of her ribs were broken, and the pain was excruciating. She didn't have time to think about it. She activated her falling star steps and dashed off into the distance with Qin Yin on her back. One of the assassin's legs had been crippled. This was Lin Muyu's only hope. The demonic noise saber flew back into its sheath. After sprinting for close to 2 hours, Lin Muyu's legs started to feel weak. What's worse was that her arms were already covered in blood. It was a frightening sight. Lin Muyu even felt that her mind was a little blank, as if she would faint at any time. "Xiao Yin, I'm afraid I can't hold on much longer," he said weakly. Tears welled up in Qin Yin's eyes. She nodded and said softly, We're almost at the river. Let's stop. That person shouldn't be chasing us anymore. You have to heal your wounds." Lin Muyu fell to the ground, taking Qin Yin with her. At that moment, the gold rock swift wolf emerged from the forest, wagging its tail and blinking at Qin Yin. Qin Yin couldn't blame it. She could sense the Goldrock Swiftwolf's fear of that mysterious assassin. It was as if it was innate. Taking out a bunch of medicine bottles from her spatial pouch, Lin Muyu looked through them carefully. This is muscle replenishing powder. It can prolong the tendons in my arms, so I won't become a cripple in the future. Hurry up and apply it on my wounds. Then use recovery medicine and gold wound medicine. Don't miss anything. Xiaoyin, your injuries aren't light either. Hurry up and apply the medicine. Got it? I'll heal you first. Qin Yin quickly applied the medicine to Lin Muyu. When she saw the deep cut on Lin Muyu's wrist, she almost broke down. She cried as she applied the medicine. Lin Muyu was lying tiredly under a withered pine tree. After applying the muscle-replenishing powder, her right arm seemed to have regained some strength. She gently lifted it and placed it on Qin Yin's shoulder. She smiled and said, "Don't cry. We're already very lucky that we're not dead." Qin Yin quietly wiped away her tears and said, "Big brother Yu, who exactly is that person? Why is he so strong? That kind of terrifying power. It's even more tyrannical than a saint." "Yes, and his swordsmanship is also superb." Lin Muyu closed her eyes and said, "His swordsmanship is completely different from the inherited swordsmanship of the Empire. I really can't understand it. Sigh, I'm the winner of the sword duel tournament, but my swordsmanship is nothing compared to his. And this person, he didn't even use his martial soul. The characteristics of his battle chi are also different from ours. It's a kind of dark and evil battle chi. It's pervasive and very domineering. Yes." Qin Yin bandaged his wounds. Seeing that his sleeves were full of blood, her tears fell again. This person should be from a legendary foreign race. He's a type of person that hasn't been recorded in our history books. That iron ruler, he said it was a sacred weapon and also a demonic weapon. What exactly is it? I don't know either. Big brother Yu, can you feel the power from the iron ruler? Yes, it's a very vigorous power. I can even feel that the iron ruler contains a what? Qin Yin asked. Lin Muyu thought for a moment and said, "A very vigorous righteousness. But if it's vigorous righteousness, how can it be called a demonic weapon? And it's something that kind of person wants. It must be a murder weapon." Yes. At this time, on the other side of the mountain range, a strange scene was happening. Under a towering tree, the handsome man's eyes were blood red. Dark dou qi quietly flowed all over his body. His body was spinning upside down in the air. His posture looked very strange. The wound on his right leg was very frightening. His entire leg looked like it had been sliced in half. However, he was using a very strange iron ruler to press against the wound. Threads of green light surged out from the iron ruler to nourish the wound. Immediately, one could see that the wound was recovering and healing at a rapid pace. This scene was extremely strange. He opened his eyes and let out a breath of turbid air. He said to himself, "There's actually such a strong practitioner in the human world. Goddamn, what's with that kid's flying knife? It can actually be seen by my demonic eyes. It's really strange. The profound spirit ruler is indeed worthy of being one of the 9 great Buddhist weapons. This mighty righteousness can really speed up the healing of injuries. After my injuries are healed, I'll go and kill that kid to prevent future troubles." Lin Muyu and Qin Yin naturally didn't know that danger was approaching. Lin Muyu relied on the best quality elixirs and the recovery of the gourd to quickly heal his injuries. But she didn't expect that the opponent's injury would heal even faster. In the distance, the cool breeze blew the smell of the river. They were less than a mile away from Dao River. Qin Yin didn't dare to light a fire. She ate some dry rations and drank some water with Lin Muyu. The night wind was cold. Lin Muyu's injuries hadn't healed yet, so he only knew how to shiver. Qin Yin's heart ached so much that her tears were about to fall. She hugged him and used her own body temperature to keep him warm. Lin Muyu didn't dare to slack off. She continued to extend her spiritual pulse technique. This assassin was able to quietly approach her. This meant that he had the ability to hide his aura. This kind of opponent was simply too terrifying. However, perhaps because of his injuries, the ability to hide his aura wasn't 100%. 2 hours later, Lin Muyu suddenly opened her eyes. Her hands had a trace of strength. She said, "Xiao Yin, he's here again." Qin Yin was shocked. What should we do?" "Go to Dao River." "What do you want to do?" "Nothing much." Lin Muyu stood up. Her hands were still hanging at her sides. She faintly smiled, "But we can't just die like this. Only death awaits us here. But if we seek outside help, perhaps we will have a sliver of a chance." You want to use the strength of the frost armor dragons at the bottom of the river? What else? Let's go." Yes. Even though Qin Yin didn't want to face the densely packed frost armor dragons, she was even more unwilling to face the approaching death god. That mysterious assassin might be even more frightening than the frost armor dragons. The two quickly set off. They had lost their horses, so they could only walk. Fortunately, Lin Muyu's legs weren't injured, so her speed wasn't too affected. However, the tendons in her arms had been cut off. Even though she had applied the muscle-replenishing powder, she was still powerless. The tendons in her arms were slowly regenerating. If she used too much force at this time, she would definitely snap them off again. At that time, it would be even more troublesome. But if that person really chased after them, she might not be able to escape without using her arms. The river water was fresh and clear. Under the moonlight, the ripples in the distance were clear and crystalline. But who would know that countless frost armor dragons were hidden under the beautiful ripples? Under the effect of the spiritual pulse technique, that person was getting closer and closer. Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the dragon spirit sword. She didn't dare to use too much force. She slowly cut off a section of her blood-stained sleeve and threw it into the river. Soon, those frost armor dragons would be able to smell the blood and flock over. Hopefully, those frost armor dragons would be of some help. "Xiao Yin, go hide on that tree." Lin Muyu pointed to a huge pine tree in the distance. "No." Qin Yin slowly shook her head. Her eyes were clear. She smiled and said, "Big brother you, Xiao Yin isn't useless. Let me protect you this time, okay?" She had already made up her mind. The power of the golden god binding chains appeared around her body. Lin Muyu could only smile bitterly and say, "All right then. If we can't escape together, then we will be buried in the river together." Qin Yin smiled and said, "I didn't think that my final ending would be like this. I originally thought that I would be able to ascend to the throne." That's fine too. Maybe this kind of death will save me a lot of pain. Moreover, I will be together with Big Brother you." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "He's here. Lure him to the riverside." "Okay." Not far away, the assassin walked over with a long sword in one hand and an iron ruler in the other. He was limping. After a series of bitter battles, he had taken a blow from the fourth element and was slashed by the demonic noise saber. His strength had been reduced to less than 40%. This was the best opportunity for Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. "Xiao Yin used the 7-string jade zither?" Lin Muyu smiled and said. Qin Yin quickly took out her zither from her space bag. She wrapped the zither in a dense layer of fighting aura. Golden god binding chains wrapped around the princess like ribbons. Ding! The sound of the zither rang out, and a golden shockwave immediately pounced toward the assassin in the distance. He quickly turned around and dodged the attack. The short tree behind him was instantly cut into two. "Heh!" The assassin sneered and suddenly rushed over. He stomped on the ground and rolled in the air to get close to Qin Yin's position. However, before his sword could land, a gourd vine suddenly broke out from the ground and wrapped around his feet. It forcefully pulled him down. Demonic noise saber. Lin Muyu's body flashed and the demonic noise saber whizzed out. However, the assassin's reaction was even faster. He exerted force on his feet and shattered the gourd. He closed his eyes in the air and suddenly smashed the iron ruler. Bang! The demonic noise saber was sent flying. As expected of a peerless expert, he quickly found the weakness of the demonic noise saber. He relied on his hearing and not his eyes. "Hand over your life." The sword fell down from the sky and directly slashed at Qin Yin's head. Lin Muyu suddenly pressed her palm on Qin Yin's back and smiled. "Goodbye, Xiao Yin." Bang! A soft vibration came over and made Qin Yin fall forward for dozens of meters. She avoided the fatal sword. Lin Muyu looked up at the powerful enemy in the sky. She raised her palm and the gourd vine flew out. It wrapped around the assassin's arm and pulled him toward her. At the same time, her body leaned back and directly fell into the rice river. The river water was thoroughly cold. Moreover, the spiritual power surged and a dense evil aura quickly swam over. Chapter 231. You want to drag me into the water? Dream on. The assassin swept a palm through the air, instantly shattering the gourd vines that had bound his arm and neck. However, before he had a chance to gloat over his victory, a sharp pain suddenly erupted from his ankle. A metal spear that was emanating dense frost energy had pierced through the wound on his leg. It was none other than Lin Muyu's pear blossom spear. Slap, slap. A pair of flexible gourd vines instantly wrapped themselves around the pear blossom spear, forcibly dragging the assassin into the river. Ice-cold river water poured directly into his mouth, eyes, and ears, and Lin Muyu let loose a low roar as she grabbed onto the gourd vines with one hand, quickly dragging the assassin into the river. You're courting death. The assassin's killing intent became even more ferocious in the river, and he swam directly toward Lin Muyu before abruptly smashing his iron ruler into her shoulder. A loud crack rang out, and Lin Muyu's shoulder blade was most likely broken. Disregarding the pain, she injected all of her battle chi into her martial soul, and countless threads of gourd vines bound herself and the assassin together. Even if she were to die, she was going to drag him down with her. She couldn't allow this assassin to kill Qin Yin. In the water, the domineering power of the dark battle chi had been significantly weakened, and the gourd vines had completely gained the upper hand. Even so, Lin Muyu was still at a complete disadvantage. The assassin gently spread open his palm, and his battle chi erupted forth with astonishing force, instantly creating a series of explosive shockwaves in the river. Lin Muyu bore the brunt of the attack, and her clothes were completely shredded while her skin was stained with blood. He held onto his opponent with all his might with his left arm, and his right hand gripped onto the dragon spirit sword as he slashed out from the side. The river water was quickly dyed red. "You bastard!" The assassin cursed with rage, but the river water quickly flowed into his mouth, preventing him from doing so. As such, he could only swing his fists through the air, striking Lin Muyu's battle armor and body over and over again. Slap. After a heavy blow, Lin Muyu's left arm was almost numb. The bones in her arm had been completely shattered. This assassin's strength was full of destruction. It was simply not a strength that a human could possess. He was so excited that he actually pounced forward and bit Lin Muyu's shoulder, forcibly tearing off a piece of flesh. Blood flowed, and the river water became even more turbid. At this moment, a black shadow had already swam over, following the scent of fresh blood. Lin Muyu's dying consciousness allowed him to dodge. The gourd vines wrapped around his body and rapidly sank downwards. Immediately, the frost-armored horned dragon's four blade-like arms swept across the assassin's body. Dang, dang, dang. There was the sound of metal colliding with stone. The sharp knife arm could not break through the assassin's protective upstanding chi. The assassin raised his sword-like eyebrows and cursed again, "Bastard!" Then he punched out. The river water instantly surged, and the 2,100-year-old frost-armored horned dragon instantly disintegrated into a pile of minced meat. However, after killing one frost-armored horned dragon, even more frost-armored horned dragons were attracted to him. Swarms of horned dragons charged at him from all directions. They opened their bloody mouths and bit the assassin's arms, legs, abdomen, and head, as if they were going to tear him apart in an instant. Lin Muyu took advantage of this opportunity to use the gourd vines to protect herself. After all, the frost-armored horned dragons were not vegetarians, so they would not directly attack the gourd vines. How infuriating! An angry roar burst forth from the river water. The assassin's entire body was covered in blood chi. Dark fighting aura swirled around him like a magical illusion, forcefully shattering the bodies of 7 to 8 frost-armored horned dragons. Half the river water was dyed red just like that. Moreover, the huge waves created by this attack were spreading in all directions. This kind of power that could overturn rivers and seas was clearly not something that a human could possess. However, the assassin's complexion was getting worse and worse. He swung his iron ruler and smashed the head of a frost-armored horned dragon. At the same time, his leg was bitten by a 3,700-year-old frost-armored horned dragon. A large chunk of flesh was torn off by another frost-armored horned dragon. Another horned dragon was biting his left arm, refusing to let go no matter how hard he struggled. This was the ferocity of a horned dragon. "Let go!" The assassin roared and raised his iron ruler. With one strike, the horned dragon's skull was smashed. However, the horned dragon still refused to let go. With another strike, the horned dragon's entire brain was splattered. Finally, the assassin slowly let go. However, at the same time, the assassin's waist was bitten again. A large chunk of flesh was torn off, and his intestines could be seen flowing into the river water. The battle was simply too tragic. Just at this moment, there was a sharp cry and the river water rose into the sky. A huge creature rushed out from the depths of the river. It was a group of frost-armored horned dragons with 14 golden patterns on their heads. They were 14,000 years old ancient beasts. This 10,000-year-old horned dragon opened its mouth and bit down on the assassin's head, grinding and chewing with its sharp teeth. The assassin was still roaring in rage. He swung his iron ruler and smashed it on the head of the 10,000-year-old horned dragon, shattering its scales inch by inch. He was so fierce that he seemed to have turned into a wild beast. But in the end he was still too weak. His legs were quickly torn apart and devoured by the horned dragons. A cracking sound came from his head as his skull exploded. Pooh! The 10,000-year-old horned dragon bit off the assassin's head and chewed with great force. Its brown eyes were filled with satisfaction. Lin Muyu saw this and swam towards the shore. A gourd vine shot out and wrapped around the iron ruler. This thing could shatter the scales of a 10,000-year-old dragon serpent. It was definitely a good treasure. At the same time, the assassin's body shattered into pieces after his death, leaving behind a black demonic bead that fell into the depths of the river. That demonic bead was filled with spiritual energy. Lin Muyu naturally would not let go of such a great opportunity. A gourd leaf quickly wrapped around the black demonic bead and dragged it towards Lin Muyu with the help of the gourd vine. However, the price of greed was extremely heavy. In that instant, the 14,000-year-old horned dragon had already rushed over. It opened its bloody mouth and bit down on Lin Muyu's left arm. But Lin Muyu did not feel any pain. Her left arm had long been crippled. More and more horned dragons rushed over, forming a dense black mass. They were like giant pythons that were spitting out their tongues. Their eyes were filled with greed and it was extremely frightening. No matter how fiercely she struggled, she could not break free from the horned dragon's giant mouth. At this time, Qin Yin's voice came from the shore. "I'm here to save you. No, I cannot let Qin Yin be in danger." At this moment, Lin Muyu did not hesitate. He raised his hand and swung the dragon spirit sword. With a flash, his entire left arm was sent flying. His eyes were filled with blood as he retreated while spitting out blood. But he was still laughing sinisterly at the group of frost-armored horned dragons. F***ck your ancestors, don't you just want to eat me? At most, I'll feed you an arm. Fresh blood flowed and a bone-chilling pain came from his left arm. Lin Muyu rushed ashore in a sorry state. The gourd vines behind him suddenly spread out to form a wall of green vines, forcefully blocking the charge of the horned dragons. Holding the longsword, his entire body was covered in blood. He shouted at Qin Yin in a frightening manner, "Stupid girl, what's there to save? Run for your lives." He opened his right hand and grasped the dragon spirit sword, iron ruler, and demonic bead. Then he ran with Qin Yin with all his might. On the other side, the golden crag swift wolf followed them with its tail between its legs. Lin Muyu glanced at it and said indifferently, "Evil creature, what use do I have for you? Looking at Lin Muyu's severed arm, Qin Yin trembled in fear. Tears flowed from her eyes. Big brother Yu, your arm, your arm. Lin Muyu's body was also in pain, but his heart was even more pained. What did losing an arm mean to a martial artist? Perhaps after losing an arm, he would only have about 60% of his original strength. In this way, it seemed like he didn't even have the qualifications to be ranked among the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning generals. After madly running for several miles, they left the Daojiang River. This Daojiang River didn't seem like a mother river at all. For Lin Muyu and Qin Yin, this place was like purgatory. Seeing Lin Muyu's injuries, Qin Yin couldn't stop crying. What else could she do besides cry? That arm was already gone. Rest for a bit, I can't run anymore. Lin Muyu's body trembled. The pain from his severed arm almost made him faint. Trembling, he took out a bottle of healing medicine and said to Qin Yin, Xiao Yin, help me apply medicine. Qin Yin's tears blurred her vision. She nodded and clutched the medicine bottle, her body trembling slightly. At this moment, the voice of the 7 luminaries demon emperor came from the depths of his Ihai. Lin Ruoji, hey, Lin Ruoji. Although he was in a sorry state, he couldn't let go of his pride. Lin Muyu raised his eyebrows and said, Demon, who are you calling Lin Ruoji? I'm talking about you. You're Lin Ruoji. A group of worms at the bottom of the river made you lose your arm and run for your life. Do you think you're a lizard? Ah, Lin Ruoji, Lin Ruoji. Mother f*** curse 7 luminaries demon emperor. Lin Muyu started cursing. The 7 luminaries demon emperor seemed to have never been so happy before. He cackled, Lin Ruoji, you're really pitiful. In order to protect Her Highness, you ended up in such a sorry state. Do you think Her Highness will marry you? She's just using you. Silly boy, Lin Ruoji ha. If you say one more word about Lin Ruoji, I'll take you down with me. Lin Muyu said with a murderous intent. The 7 luminaries demon emperor knew that this kid was a madman. He didn't dare to provoke him anymore. He only said, Brother Ruoji, I only have one question for you. Do you still want to be a healthy person? Do you want your left arm? How am I not healthy? You're already an incomplete man. Get lost, 7 luminaries demon emperor. You son of AB***. Hashtag it. Lin Muyu cursed. He realized that the pain in his body seemed to have lessened after venting his anger. Who was the 7 brilliance demon monarch? He was the strongest person in history. He did not hold a grudge against Qin Nan. He said with a smile, Brother Weak, you should talk to me nicely if you want your arm back. I might even be able to help you. You help me? What are you after? You, Lin Ruoji, are a substitute for me, the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Before I find a new body, I don't want you to become useless. Besides, if I succeed in taking over your body one day, this body will be mine. I don't want to be an incomplete man. Lin Muyu said calmly, my arm has already been eaten by the horned dragon. Tell me, how can I get my left arm back? Idiot, don't you know that you're sitting on a mountain of treasures? The 7 luminaries demon emperor mocked. You're indeed a pitiful weakling. Look at the metal ruler in your hand. Can you feel the spiritual energy and rebirth energy within it? Let me tell you, this iron ruler is a good treasure. Refine it and rely on its rebirth power to reconstruct your body. Also, that black bead is also a good thing. Refine and absorb it as well to replenish the lost strength of your arm. Perhaps you can even recover 80 to 90% of your lost cultivation. Really? Nonsense. Can't you feel the energy within the metal ruler? How are you going to thank me for helping you so much? Tell me, how do you want me to thank you? You scolded me for so long just now, but I didn't even reply. Now, you're going to repay me by scolding you, but you can't even reply. I can scold you for as long as I want. What do you think? Lin Muyu gritted her teeth, then scold me all you want. Good, you're a straightforward person indeed. The 7 luminaries demon emperor was a straightforward person. He ignored the fact that Lin Muyu needed to concentrate on refining the metal ruler and started scolding her in Tianjin dialect. Look at you, dog food. You're really unlikable. Do you have Yang Qiu in your head? After scolding her for a while, he continued scolding her in Hunan dialect for another 20 minutes before switching to Shanghai dialect for half an hour. In the end, Lin Muyu spent 5 hours refining the metal ruler while the 7 luminaries demon emperor spent 5 hours scolding her. Finally, he was tired and went to rest in the depths of his Yi. Lin Muyu broke out in cold sweat. Refining the metal ruler had reached a critical juncture. There was no room for error. Chapter 232. An endless stream of life energy flowed from the iron ruler into Lin Muyu's body. The iron ruler trembled continuously as the metal on its surface melted away, revealing the green substance within. Streaks of golden light flowed within. This golden light was the righteous energy that Lin Muyu had sensed. This iron ruler was definitely not as simple and unadorned as it appeared to be. It was a mysterious treasure that was unknown to the world. Just as the iron ruler was completely refined, streaks of ancient runes slowly rose up and circled around Lin Muyu's body. It was so beautiful that Qin Yin, who was standing outside the crafting cauldron, widened her eyes in shock. Lin Muyu's body was being reconstructed. The iron ruler's energy automatically sought out the wounds on his body and healed them. At first, the recovery energy was like a trickle that healed the sword wounds on Lin Muyu's shoulder and chest. But when this energy flowed to the stump of his arm, it suddenly surged in like a raging river. Streaks of golden ancient runes circled around the stump of his arm and quickly formed an arm of energy. As Lin Muyu's blood flowed into the stump of his arm, the reconstruction process became visible to the naked eye. Wang. The crafting cauldron trembled violently. Lin Muyu endured great pain as his entire left arm gradually regained feeling. The burning sensation was almost enough to swallow his spirit sense. Even with his strong spirit sense, he couldn't help but let out a miserable howl as he knelt on the ground. His right arm was propped up on the ground while his left arm was completely golden. His flesh and veins were being reconstructed at a visible rate. His entire body was trembling as his battle energy was raised to the extreme, forming a milky white wave of energy that struck the surroundings. Qin Yin let out a soft cry and hastily summoned the god-binding chains in front of her to defend against Lin Muyu's attack. But what Qin Yin didn't expect was that Lin Muyu's current strength seemed to be even stronger than before. She felt as if she couldn't withstand Lin Muyu's attack. As for the gold-crag swift wolf, it was hiding somewhere with its tail between its legs. After an unknown period of time, the entire left arm had completely regrown. However, the surface of the left arm was glowing with a faint golden light and was surrounded by steam. Lin Muyu channeled her qi into the left arm and found that her qi was like a drop of water falling into the roots of a tree. It was like trying to put out a burning cart of firewood with a cup of water. The left arm's search for power was far more than that. It seemed that the left arm was also yearning for the injection of qi. Lin Muyu howled in pain. Her entire left arm was numb and painful. At this time, Lulu, who was an Yi, flew out and said, "Brother, the 7 luminaries demon emperor asked you to refine the pearl left behind by the assassin's primordial spirit. Perhaps it can make up for the strength needed for your left arm." Lin Muyu hurriedly took out the pearl that was filled with power. The 6th layer of the heavenly fire inside the treasure refining cauldron flew up and quickly melted the pearl. Suddenly, a vast amount of dark qi flowed everywhere inside the treasure refining cauldron. "No, this dark qi conflicts with my physique." Lin Muyu frowned. "It doesn't matter." Lulu blinked her eyes and said, "This dark fighting energy and the light fighting energy humans have come from the same source. Using the heavenly fire to refine it can be converted into fighting energy that Big Brother can absorb." After refining it for nearly half an hour, the dark qi slowly turned white. As if it had a mind of its own, it flowed into her left arm. It surged endlessly, as if a whole river of power was flowing into her left arm. Lin Muyu suddenly raised his head and let out a sigh of relief. At this moment his left arm was truly reborn. When the entire pearl had been refined and absorbed, the light around his left arm slowly dissipated. It was no different from his original arm. Only Lin Muyu himself knew the real difference. The power contained in this arm shocked even him. He put away the treasure-refining cauldron. The clothes on his upper body had already been torn off. He had no choice but to take out a set of gold star sparring master armor from the holy temple from his cosmos sack and put it on. Otherwise, it would be inappropriate for him to eat his upper body in front of the princess. Moreover, they were deep in the mountains. Even if he wore the holy temple armor, it would not matter. There was no need to hide here. The people from the House of Chivalry would not be able to reach here before they were killed by the spiritual beasts. Looking at Lin Muyu's reconstructed body, Qin Yin was wild with joy. "Brother Yu, your arm, is it really fine?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. The iron ruler contained a very strong life force. I refined it, so the life force in the iron ruler and the blood in my body reconstructed this arm. How magical! There were still traces of tears on Qin Yin's face, but she was in high spirits. She held Lin Muyu's new left arm and gently touched it. The skin, pores, and veins were no different from an ordinary person, just stronger. "Will this arm be even stronger?" Qin Yin blinked and said, "Xiao Yin can feel that your strength has increased a lot." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu smiled and tried to cross his left arm. He suddenly let out a low roar and circulated his fighting energy. However, just as he was circulating his energy, he felt a force in his left arm that seemed to be waiting for him to awaken. He used his fighting energy to activate it. The next moment, a shocking scene happened. Bang! Golden light shone brightly, and the shape of a golden true dragon circled around his left arm, as if protecting this arm. It was like a shield, but the strength of its strength was clearly not something an ordinary shield could compare to. "Is this the power of the Iron Ruler?" Lin Muyu asked in shock. Qin Yin smiled faintly. "It shouldn't be just the Iron Ruler. The assassin said that this Iron Ruler is a sacred weapon, a demonic weapon. Congratulations, brother Yu. It seems that your true dragon bloodline has already merged with the power of the sacred weapon. That's why you obtained this. Oh, I should call it the true dragon arm, right?" Maybe that's really the case. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. "It's a blessing in disguise. I thought that after losing my left arm, my cultivation would be ruined. I didn't expect to obtain an even stronger left arm." "How are your injuries now?" "More than half healed." Lin Muyu walked forward and looked at Qin Yin's shoulder. It was covered with blood. Qin Yin's injuries now seemed to be far more serious than his own. He said with distress. On the contrary, Xiao Yin's injuries are still very serious. He looked up at the sky and said, "It's almost dawn. Let's go find the warhorse immediately. Otherwise, I don't know when we will reach Miyu City." Fortunately, the warhorse did not go far. It only gnawed on the grass near the temple. The luggage on the horse's back was still there, but the tent was torn into pieces. However, Lin Muyu still put the tent away. It should still be able to be used after some mending. After a quick breakfast, they continued on their journey. Lin Muyu was now wearing the armor and boots of the holy temple. Naturally, it was even more impossible to walk on the main road. So, he continued to walk on the small path with Qin Yin. After nightfall, the tent was mended and set up again. After eating, Qin Yin went into the tent to recuperate. Lin Muyu gripped the dragon spirit sword tightly and stood guard about 3 meters away from the tent. She stood there motionless like a statue. Voila! The tent door was opened. Qin Yin poked her head out and said with a smile, "You, come in and rest." "No need." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "I will guard outside from now on. Xiao Yin will sleep. I will take a nap during the day. I will rely on you to lead the way." The appearance of this killer made Lin Muyu completely vigilant. There was actually someone in this world who could avoid the detection of the spirit pulse technique and get close to him. If he was too superstitious about the spirit pulse technique, he might lose his and Qin Yin's lives. So, it was better to stay awake at night. His attitude was more resolute, so Qin Yin did not say much. She went back into the tent and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, the wild pheasants in the dragon-seeking forest were actually chirping. Qin Yin woke up slowly. A beam of sunlight shone on her face through the gap in the tent. She stretched and opened the tent. When she looked outside, she was stunned. She saw Lin Muyu sitting on a rock with his hand on the hilt of his sword. His white cloak was scattered behind him, but his face, eyebrows, and shoulders were all covered with a layer of frost. Qin Yin's heart skipped a beat. She rushed out and hugged him. "Are you okay?" Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes. There was a strange luster in his eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. He smiled and said, "I am fine." "What's wrong, Xiaoyin?" "You are covered in frost." "You scared me." Qin Yin stuck out her tongue and laughed. I am fine. Don't worry." For the next few days, Lin Muyu only had to hurry on with her journey. Along the way, she killed a few spirit beasts and fed them to the golden rock swift wolf. The golden rock swift wolf's cultivation had increased by 50 years. It seemed that raising a pet was a good idea. Lin Muyu couldn't help but start thinking about her pet. What kind of pet would be most suitable? First of all, it had to have a good bloodline. It could not be like the golden rock swift wolf. Although it was an overlord among wolves, it was still a wild wolf. It was useless against a horned dragon or a real powerhouse. Perhaps she should tame a dragon? The umbrella dragon's rank was too low. It was useless among the dragons. The dragon snake was strong, but its bloodline was not even as good as the umbrella dragon. As for the true dragon, forget it. Even if she could find it, she wouldn't be able to defeat it. Lin Muyu knew her limits very well. On the 11th day after leaving Lanyan City, they finally entered the territory of Muyu City. They could already see patrols coming and going on the official road from afar. These scouts wore the insignia of a spear on their shoulders. They were all from Muyu City. They also wore the insignia of the empire's purple Yinhua. "Xiaoyin, we are ready to enter the city." Lin Muyu smiled as he held the reins. He was wearing the holy temple armor. It was too heavy for the skinny horse, so he decided to let it go. Qin Yin rode on her warhorse and smiled. Yeah. But at this moment, a group of soldiers in the Empire's uniforms suddenly appeared in the forest behind them. All of them drew their longbows, and one of them shouted, "Who are you people?" Chapter 233. There were more than 50 people in total. None of them were very strong. There was only a captain who was at the first level of the Earth realm. He was not worth mentioning. These people were the patrolling army of Muyu City. They were equivalent to the Imperial Army of Muyu City. Lanyan City had a population of 5 million and a garrison of 180,000. Muyu City had a population of 4 million and a total of 250,000 soldiers. They were even stronger than the garrison of the Imperial Army. Lin Muyu walked forward in her holy temple armor. She smiled and said, "Don't you recognize this outfit?" The captain took a closer look and became serious. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, "So you are from the Holy Temple? But the people from the Holy Temple do not have much interaction with our Yunzhong province. Lord, you must have something to do in Muyu City, right? Please show me your clearance document. Otherwise, I will not let you enter Muyu City." "I don't have a clearance document." Lin Muyu was startled. It seemed that Qin Jin did not mention anything about clearance documents. "Then did you come from the dragon-seeking forest?" the captain asked. "Yes, we followed the Rice River all the way here." "Inqiang?" A trace of shock flashed across the captain's face as he said, "Did you really come from Inqiang?" Heavens! Yun Gong had already ordered a section of Dao River's dragon-seeking forest to be a forbidden hunting zone half a year ago. There are extremely terrifying demons hidden there. Did nothing happen on your way here? Lin Muyu didn't want to talk about the countless frost-armored horned dragons in Rice River, so she said, "We're quite a distance away from Rice River. We didn't wade through the water, so we don't know what happened in Rice River. But now, I want to enter Muyu City to see Duke Yun. Can I trouble you to bring me into the city?" "See Lord Yun?" The captain was startled and said, "I have never heard of Lord Yun having any relationship with the people from the Holy Temple." "Lord, if you want to see Lord Yun, you need to tell us first. Who are you in the Holy Temple? Since you are from Venus, you should be famous all over the world." "I am Lin Muyu." A group of patrolling soldiers of Muyu City was stunned. The people who were originally at war with each other put down their bows and arrows, and several cavalrymen who were riding on the horses quickly dismounted and looked at Lin Muyu respectfully. If the boy in front of them was really Lin Muyu, then they could not neglect him. After all, he was one of the 3 commanders of the Imperial Guard, the second of the 4 heroes of Lanyan, and also the adopted son of the emperor. A slight neglect would be an unpardonable crime. The squad leader said respectfully, "Sir, are you really the champion of the sword duel tournament, the legendary wild General Lin Muyu? Is there anything wrong with that? Then, please forgive me for my disrespect. How will you prove yourself?" Lin Muyu was speechless. She reached for the token of the General of the South. But at this moment, suddenly, Qin Yin, who was behind him, lifted the cloak on top of her head. Suddenly, a stunning and beautiful face appeared in front of everyone. She raised the corner of her mouth and said with a faint smile, "Can I be the proof?" Everyone was stunned. The squad leader's throat moved a little, and he said with a dry mouth, "I have seen you before. You are Her Highness Yin." Qin Yin nodded. "Yes, so you know me. Then it will be easy." The group of people knelt down and formed a circle around her. Hundreds of cavalrymen also rushed over from the distant road. After hearing that it was Qin Yin, they all dismounted and knelt on both sides of the road. Lin Muyu stood next to Qin Yin. There was a sense of accomplishment. So this was the feeling of absolute power. "Get up." Qin Yin smiled and raised her hand. "This time I came to Muyu City in disguise because I have something to discuss with my grandfather. All of you, get on your horses and don't let anyone know. Take me into the city to see my grandfather." "Yes, Your Highness." A Chiliarch came forward and grabbed the reins of Qin Yin's horse, saying, "This general will lead the horse for Your Highness." However, Qin Yin smiled and said, "There's no need for that. Just treat me as a member of the team. I told you not to make it public." "Yes, Your Highness, this general will obey." "Big brother, you, get on the horse. We are going into the city." Qin Yin smiled. Lin Muyu finally felt safe. A large group of cavalrymen surrounded the two of them as they slowly entered Muyu City. Muyu City was one of the 3 major cities in the north of the empire. Along with Qihai City and Tongtian City, it was one of the northernmost cities. The climate here was much colder than that of Lanyan City, and the Iron Army of the Empire was forged here. When Qin Jin ascended the throne, the world was in chaos. The northern desert invaded and the southern barbarians invaded the north. At that time, he married Su Muyun's daughter, Su Yun. She was the Empress of Jingda, and also Qin Yin's mother. Now that the world was settled, this marriage was more like an iron chain that bound Lanyan City and Muyu City together. After entering the city, Lin Muyu looked around. The city was orderly, and the public security was even better than that of Lanyan City. Moreover, she could see smiles on the faces of the commoners on the streets, which made Lin Muyu very pleased. The smiles on the people's faces showed that they were not under great pressure. Duke Muyun's governance ability was remarkable. After walking on the street for nearly 20 minutes, a group of armored cavalry approached from the front. There seemed to be nearly 1,000 of them. A middle-aged man, who was about 45 years old or so, dismounted from his horse and walked forward with a smile on his face. He said, "I, Su Qin, pay my respects to Her Highness Yin." Qin Yin giggled and dismounted from the horse. She held his arm and said with a smile, "Uncle, you are too kind, Xiao Yin. Get up quickly." Su Qin laughed and looked at Qin Yin. Su Qin laughed heartily. He looked Qin Yin up and down and said, "The last time I saw you, little Yin, you were only 15 years old. Now you're already so slender and elegant. No wonder there are rumors in the empire that little Yin is the #1 beauty in the world." Qin Yin said with a smile, "Uncle, let me introduce you. This is Lin Muyu, my father's adopted son and Xiao Yin's adopted brother." Lin Muyu dismounted from the horse and walked forward. She cupped her fists respectfully and said, "Greetings, Commander Su Qin." Su Qin was the only son of Duke Muyun. He controlled the 100,000 Iron Blade army. In terms of military power, Few people in the world could beat him. You are too polite. Su Qin cupped his hands and stepped forward. His fists were overflowing with dou qi. The distance between his fists and Lin Muyu's was about 10 centimeters. The dou qi quickly collided. This made Lin Muyu quite surprised. This uncle wanted to test her ability the moment they met? So she gathered her strength and pure dou qi came out of her body. In just a few seconds, Su Qin was forced to take a few steps back. A wave of air spread out with Lin Muyu as the center. Who won and who lost was very clear. Su Qin's strength was only at the first heavenly layer while Lin Muyu had already stepped into the second heavenly layer. In addition to the difference in martial arts, Lin Muyu was stronger by more than one level. Sure enough, a young hero. Su Qin laughed out loud. The legendary second-ranked of the 4 heroes of Lan Yen, Lin Muyu really makes one have a whole new level of respect for you. Come you and Xiaoyin come with me. We received Yu's letter early in the morning and father has prepared good wine and food to entertain you all. Thank you, Lord Commander. Lin Muyu was still respectful. This was the rule of this world that he had learned. Hide the edge. In this world of iron and blood, if one did not learn to hide the edge, they may die very early, no matter how high their cultivation was. For example, the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor was known as the world's #1, but he was too arrogant. In the end, didn't he fall in the 17th layer of purgatory? He really deserved it. As he thought of this, the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor in the depths of Yi immediately woke up. Damn, you brat, are you cursing me again? Your arm has just recovered and you have already forgotten your benefactor. Lin Ruoji, you are really an ungrateful king bastard. Lin Muyu did not scold him back. He just sank his Yi and sent the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor to the depths of Yi. He did not have to listen to his JJWW, so he could have some peace of mind. Although Muyu City was known as one of the 7 great cities, there was no imperial palace or temporary imperial residence. There was only a duke's mansion that stood majestically in the center of the city. When Lin Muyu and Qin Yin stepped into the duke's mansion under the protection of a group of guards, from afar, an old man was already walking over with a cane. He was wearing an official robe that had a faint golden luster. He smiled and said, Sumyun Xiaoyin, is finally willing to see grandfather? Qin Yin immediately lifted her skirt and rushed over. She threw herself into Su Muyun's arms and sweetly called out, Grandfather. Su Muyun smiled so much that the wrinkles on his face were about to crack. He happily patted Qin Yin's shoulder and said, Oh, Xiaoyin has grown into a big girl. Be careful, grandfather's asthma is about to come out because of you. Qin Yin giggled and let go of Su Muyun. She said, Grandfather, you haven't gone to the capital to see Xiaoyin for so long. Don't you miss me at all? Of course I do. Why wouldn't I miss you? Su Muyun held his granddaughter's hand and looked at her carefully. He said, Xiaoyin, you look exactly like your mother. Sigh, when grandfather looks at you, it's as if I'm looking at your mother. In the blink of an eye, so many years have passed. This old man feels as if Yun is still alive. Qin Yin's eyes turned red. Grandfather, don't say any more. Let me introduce you to someone. Su Muyun's eyes flashed. He looked at Lin Muyu and said with a smile, There's no need for introductions. This is Lin Muyu, one of the 4 heroes of Lan Yen, right? She really has an imposing appearance. His Majesty has good taste. He recognized such a good godson. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said respectfully, Subordinate Lin Muyu pays respect to Duke Yun. Good. Su Muyun helped Lin Muyu up and said with a smile, Let's go. I know that you and Xiaoyin must have disguised yourselves to safely come to Yunzhong province. You must have suffered a lot along the way, right? I've prepared food and wine for you. Come quickly. We can talk after we're full. Qin Yin nodded with a smile. In the back hall of the Duke's mansion, a large table of good wine and dishes had already been placed there. Because Her Royal Highness the Princess was the one eating, those who did not have a high enough status could not eat together with her. There were only 4 people, Su Muyun, Su Qin, Qin Yin, and Lin Muyu. But it was good they could eat their fill. After they were full, Su Muyun and Su Qin looked at each other and stood up together. They took a few steps back and knelt on the ground. They said in unison, Su Muyun and Su Qin, listen to the imperial edict. Chapter 234. Lin Muyu initially thought that Qin Jin had only given Qin Yin a verbal edict. She did not expect that Qin Yin would open her spatial pouch and take out a golden scroll. Qin Jin's handwriting was written on the scroll. Qin Yin's beautiful eyes looked at her grandfather and uncle who were kneeling on the ground. She cleared her throat and said, Yunzhong Province's governor, Duke Yun, listen to the edict. Immediately gather the main military forces of Yunzhong Province with this edict and promote Su Qin to be the commander-in-chief, commanding 100,000 steel blade troops. Su Yu to be the protector of the state general, commanding 60,000 Qin dragon troops. Send these 160,000 troops out of Yunzhong Pass and use this edict as an excuse to attack Songnan Province. Enter Five Valleys City and disarm Long Qianlin's 100,000 troops. If he disobeys, kill without mercy. In addition, all the seized troops must be handed over to the Jinan general, Lin Muyu. I hope that Duke Yun can put Lin Muyu's military skills in an important position and assign 50,000 steel blade troops to her command. Together, we will pacify the chaos in Songnan Province. After reading the edict, Qin Yin smiled and bowed. Grandfather, uncle, don't kneel. Quickly get up and receive the edict. Otherwise, Xiao Yin will be embarrassed. Quickly get up. Su Muyun slowly stood up with a shocked expression on his face. Looks like His Majesty is really going to make a move against Hu Tianning this time, Qin Yin nodded. Not only did Hu Tianning secretly minted coins, he also controlled the military and political power. Even when Imperial Father repeatedly summoned him to the imperial capital to report on his work, he pretended to be deaf and mute. It has already been 2 years since he paid tribute to the imperial capital. Su Qin stood up, cupped his fists, and sneered. Hu Tianning's rebellious intentions are clear. This time with His Majesty's personal edict, I want to see what Hu Tianning can do. Su Muyun furrowed his brows and said, this matter must be completed with the force of a thunderbolt. If we delay, there will be changes. Qin, immediately order the 100,000 steel blade army to return to Muyu City. Your sister Su Yu's Zither Dragon army is only 1 day away. The entire army needs to enter Songnan Province secretly. With the speed of the Muyu City's steel cavalry, we can reach the Five Valleys City within 3 days. With the Emperor's edict, we can seize all the military equipment in Songnan Province. Su Qin nodded. Yes, father. I will do as you say, but what, uncle? Qin Yin blinked her eyes and asked. Su Qin smiled and said, His Majesty's edict ordered me to hand over half of the Steel Blade Army's military power to you. Sigh, the captaincy of the Steel Blade Army are all rough people. I'm afraid that you is new and will not be able to control them well. Qin Yin was startled. She did not expect Su Qin to say this. But after thinking about it carefully, it was reasonable. Lin Muyu was silent, but she was thinking about many things. This time, Qin Jin used the Muyu city's military power to pacify the rebellious people in Songnan Province. At the same time, he wanted her to take part of the Muyu city's military power to achieve the effect of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This showed that Qin Jin did not trust Su Muyun and Su Qin completely. This game of power was too complicated, and Lin Muyu was already involved. It was impossible for Xiao Yao to stay out of it. Xiao Yin, Lin Muyu frowned and said, just as Lord Su Qin said, I am only a newly appointed general of the south. There is no way I can control an army of 50,000. I am also worried that I am not capable enough and will ruin things. But Imperial Father's edict. Qin Yin pouted and said, all right then, I will listen to you. Lin Muyu turned around and cupped his fists at Su Qin with a smile and said, Commander Su Qin, don't worry. I, Lin Muyu, will not take a single soldier from the Muyu city. The 100,000 Steel Blade Army will still be under your command. This way, the Steel Blade Army's combat power can be maximized. I'm just a little worried. Songnan Province's General Wang Lin is well versed in the art of war and has nearly 20,000 flying mount soldiers under him. If this matter cannot be resolved peacefully, a bloody battle will be inevitable. Su Qin looked at him gratefully and said, What do you think we should do? Lin Muyu said, How about this, let's take drastic measures? What drastic measures? Su Muyun narrowed his eyes and looked at this inexperienced young man. Lin Muyu smiled. Long Qianlin's biggest trump card is the 17,000 flying mount soldiers, so I plan to split the army into 2 groups. I will first go to Five Valleys City and borrow the 10,000 flying mount soldiers from Long Qianlin with my dragon talisman. Then, Commander Su Qin and Commander Su Yu will lead the Cloud Province's army to suppress the border. Maybe Hu Tianning will give up resisting and admit defeat. Good. Yu patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and said with a smile, This is a good idea. I forgot that Commander Long Qianlin is the champion of the Sword Battle Assembly and has a dragon talisman in his hand. You don't need to go to Five Valleys City. I received a letter not long ago saying that Long Qianlin has led nearly 20,000 flying mount soldiers to 3 Mountain Pass. You just need to go to 3 Mountain Pass and take 10,000 of his flying mount soldiers. Then, Long Qianlin will naturally be a tiger without teeth. Lin Muyu looked at Qin Yin and said, Then Xiao Yin Shi. Su Muyun smiled slightly, Don't worry, I will bring Xiao Yin to conquer Songnan Province. I only have 1 granddaughter, so naturally, I won't let her suffer any harm. You just go to 3 Mountain Pass. By the way, going alone is a bit weak. How about this? Su Qin, pick 3,000 cavalry from the Iron Blade Army and let you bring them to 3 Mountain Pass. This will ensure their safety along the way. Yes, father. Then it's decided. You will rest for the night and set off tomorrow morning. Our army will also set off tomorrow. Let's meet at Five Valleys City. If we succeed, I will bring Xiao Yin, Su Qin, and Su Yu to the imperial capital to see His Majesty. It's been a long time since I've gone back to Lanyan City to visit my relatives. Qin Yin smiled faintly, let's do it this way. Late at night, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Green smoke lingered in the gilded incense burner, bringing with it a faint fragrance. The wing of the Duke's mansion in Muyu City was very exquisite and unusually spacious. Outside, there were 4 maids waiting to be summoned at any time. Lin Muyu sat on the side of the bed, slowly circulating the Forging Dragon Bone Remnant Scroll to speed up the recovery of her injuries. Qin Yin sat not far away, holding a cup of hot tea and smiling as she breathed. Big brother Yu. She suddenly looked at Lin Muyu. What's wrong, Xiao Yin? Lin Muyu smiled. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and softly said, Father intended to let you lead the troops to gain experience. Why did you refuse Father's good intentions? Originally, if we had insisted a little, Uncle would have divided half of the troops for you to command. Uncle has been in control of the Iron Blade Army for so many years. It's considered the most elite force in the entire continent. You actually didn't understand Father's painstaking efforts. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She walked over and sat next to Qin Yin, saying, It's not that I didn't understand, but I saw Commander Su Qin's performance. Your uncle is not that generous. The Iron Blade Army is his flesh and blood. If you insist on cutting half of it, it's hard to guarantee that he won't be dissatisfied, right? Qin Yin nodded lightly and smiled, saying, What you said makes some sense. But this way, perhaps after Songnan Province is recovered, the biggest beneficiaries will be uncle and grandfather. But that's fine too. We're a family after all. Yes. Lin Muyu sighed. Qin Jin sent him to protect Qin Yin to Muyu City. This game of chess was a little big. He didn't know if his good intentions would achieve the desired results. Lin Muyu now admired this emperor more and more. Qin Jin was far from being as muddle-headed and incompetent as he looked on the surface. On the contrary, he was a schemer. In the main hall of the Duke's mansion, Su Qin knelt on the ground on one knee. His hand held the hilt of his sword and his expression was solemn. He said in a low voice, Father, if I did something wrong, you can punish me directly. Su Muyun's expression was cold. He said lightly, You know you did wrong? I don't know. You don't know? Su Muyun's pair of turbid eyes suddenly shone brightly. He said, His Majesty wants you to split half of the troops and let Lin Muyu command. You actually dared to shirk the responsibility. Do you know that you have committed the crime of deceiving the emperor? As long as Xiao Yin goes back and says a word in front of His Majesty, I'm afraid you can't be the great general anymore. Su Qin was startled. He suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Then I have already done wrong. How should I remedy it? Father, please teach me. Su Muyun sighed and said, Don't worry. You are Xiao Yin's uncle. Xiao Yin has also grown up and is sensible. She will naturally not do anything that is detrimental to you. As for that Lin Muyu, what's wrong with Lin Muyu? He knows how to read people's expressions at such a young age. Furthermore, I have observed him for a long time. I found that his breathing is very stable and his mood is not chaotic. Such a person will definitely be able to maintain his calm and composure in the face of great ups and downs. If the rumors are true, and he did not fall into a disadvantageous position when fighting against Long Qianlin on the Fire Axe Mountain, then such a person is really too terrifying. Su Qin raised his head and smiled. Father, Yu is His Majesty's godson and Xiao Yin's godson. The more skilled he is in both the pen and the sword, the more he will be able to protect the empire, right? Su Muyun couldn't help but laugh. He nodded and said non-committally, Perhaps you're right. Qin, you should pay more attention to this Lin Muyu in the future. Once he has any rebellious thoughts, he will be the biggest threat to the empire. If you really find out that he has rebellious thoughts one day, remember Father's words, kill him immediately without mercy. Yes, Father, I will remember. And we will set off tomorrow. The cavalry will be in the front, and the infantry will bring up the rear. We must arrive at the Five Valleys city within 3 days. I hope that this time, Hu Tianning will be executed without using any weapons. Otherwise, I am afraid that the people of the Cloud Province and Songnan Province will encounter a great disaster. And I understand. The next morning, Lin Muyu woke up early. Lin Muyu's injuries had already recovered by about 70 to 80%. His left arm was brimming with energy and boundless strength. After the battle at Dao River, his overall strength did not decrease. Instead, it increased quite a bit. It could be considered as a blessing in disguise. Early in the morning, 3,000 cavalrymen of the Steel Blade Army stood in great numbers outside the city. Qin Yin personally handed an iron tiger tally to Lin Muyu. She repeatedly told him to be careful and pay attention to his safety. Lin Muyu naturally smiled and comforted her in every way possible, telling her not to worry. After giving the order, 3,000 cavalrymen quickly left the Muyu city and went straight to the Three Mountains Pass. Chapter 235. After galloping along the ancient path for a day and a night, they could see the Three Mountain Pass in the distance at noon on the second day. General. A Chiliarch cupped his fists and said, The Three Mountain Pass is the transportation hub of the Yunzhong Commandery and the ancient path. It's easy to defend and hard to attack. I'm afraid Long Qianlin has already received the news of Yushu's arrival. And follow me into the pass in a while. Yes. Another Chiliarch said worriedly, If Long Qianlin has any rebellious thoughts, General shouldn't enter the pass. It's too dangerous. How can General take the risk? Don't worry. Lin Muyu untied the dragon spirit sword on her back and held it in her hand. She smiled and said, You guys can camp outside the pass. I'll go in alone. Wait for me. I'll follow General into the pass. If we're going to die, we'll die together. There's no one in Muyu City who's afraid of death, he said firmly. Lin Muyu nodded in appreciation. Good. Then the 3 Chiliarchs will follow me into the pass to show our sincerity. The Three Mountain Pass was located between 3 peaks. It was about 10 meters high and the walls were built with huge rocks that weighed thousands of kilograms. The walls were covered with withered vines. There were flags fluttering above the pass. It was Long Qianlin's flag with a big long character that was very conspicuous. Lin Muyu slowly approached the city with the 3 senior generals and shouted from afar, General of the South, Lin Muyu, requests to see General Long Qianlin. Please open the gate for us. Creak. The drawbridge was lowered and the guards cupped their fists and said, General Long invites Sir to enter the pass for a chat. Many thanks. They rode their horses into the pass and found that the interior of the three-mountain pass was very spacious and well organized. More than 10,000 soldiers of the Flying Mount camp were stationed inside, and the shouts from the training ground were earth-shattering. In the depths of the camp, a row of cavalry galloped over. Long Qianlin was at the front in golden armor and holding a spear. He laughed and cupped his fists and said, Sir Lin Muyu, it's been a long time. I didn't expect you to come to the three-mountain pass. Are you looking for me to drink? Of course not. Lin Muyu looked at the situation inside the pass. The flying cavalry camp's supply troops were preparing their rations and weapons, and they were about to set off. He couldn't help but ask, Sir Long Qianlin, where are you planning to go after breaking camp? Long Qianlin looked calm and said with a smile, I heard that a group of bandits has been causing trouble in the villages and towns within the borders of Wugu City. Therefore, under the orders of the governor, I'm going to lead the Flying Mount Battalion back to Wugu City to eliminate the bandits. Oh, I see, Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, but I also have urgent military news here. A group of wandering mercenaries are attacking the innocent people of Cloud Middle Commandery. I have been ordered by His Majesty to bring the Dragon Talisman to Sir Long Qianlin to borrow troops to eliminate the bandits. Borrowing soldiers from me? That's right. Can I lend you 10,000 fierce soldiers of the Flying Mount Battalion? Lin Muyu took out the Dragon Talisman. The exquisite commander's talisman glowed with a moving luster under the sunlight. This. Long Qianlin frowned and muttered to himself. After a long while, he said, But I have been ordered by the governor to break camp and return to Wugu City as soon as possible. Lin Muyu smiled and said, The Dragon Talisman was bestowed by His Majesty. Sir Long Qianlin, may I ask, is the Flying Mount Battalion the Empire's army or the governor's army? Long Qianlin looked aghast and hurriedly cupped his fists respectfully and said, Of course it's the Empire's army. Sir Lin Muyu, you're giving me too much credit. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, Since that's the case, why aren't you willing to hand over the Flying Mount Battalion to me? Long Qianlin's expression was uncertain. He had already thought of many things. Lin Muyu urged her horse closer and said in a low voice, A great building is about to collapse. A wise man submits to circumstances. Could it be that Sir Long Qianlin is really willing to see these elite warriors of the Flying Mount Battalion become a pile of desolate bones under the rule of power? Long Qianlin gritted his teeth even more and confirmed his thoughts. He raised his head to look at Lin Muyu and asked, Has His Majesty really made up his mind? Privately minting coins is a grave crime. Don't you understand? Sigh. Long Qianlin sighed. At the same time, his palm gently moved to the hilt of his sword. The group of Flying Mount Battalion guards at the side also looked fiercely at Lin Muyu and company. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. With a soft grunt, a golden gourd appeared in his palm. He held the golden gourd and said with a smile, That's right. There are only 3 of us who entered the pass. You, Long Qianlin, can kill the 3 of us without batting an eyelid, but Duke Yun, His Highness Yun, Su Qin, Su Yu, and the entire Yunzhong province know that I, Lin Muyu, have come to Three Mountain Pass to borrow soldiers. You want to kill me, but you want the entire Three Mountain Pass to be buried with me. Is it really worth it? Long Qianlin's expression was extremely pained. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, You are a person who loves soldiers. The Flying Mount Battalion is one of the few elite divisions of the Empire. They should be fighting all over the country and defending our territory. Do you want the Flying Mount Battalion to become a rebel army and die without a burial ground because of your mistake? This sentence hit the nail on the head. Long Qianlin was indeed a general who used troops like a god, but he was also a person who loved soldiers like they were his own children. Forget it, Long Qianlin sighed. He looked up at the sky and said, If it is preordained by the heavens, then I, Long Qianlin, have betrayed the heavens and the earth. Since Sir Lin Mu has the dragon talisman bestowed by His Majesty, then I, Long Qianlin, entrust all 17,000 brave soldiers of the Flying Mount Battalion to you. I hope you can treat these brave soldiers well. No matter how many unpardonable crimes the governor and I, Long Qianlin, have committed, these soldiers are innocent. They are all soldiers who are loyal to the empire. I know. Lin Mu looked at him deeply and said, I guarantee with my life that these 17,000 brave soldiers of the Flying Mount Battalion will be safe. All right, thank you very much, Long Qianlin shouted. All the cavalry commandants of the Flying Mount Battalion, come over here. The cavalry commandants of the Flying Mount Battalion were Kiliarchs and were also the ones who had the most direct control over the military. Very soon, all 17 cavalry commandants gathered in front of them. Their warhorses neighed as they looked at Long Qianlin solemnly. Long Qianlin reluctantly took out the tiger tally from his bosom, raised it high, and shouted word by word, Always remember, the Flying Mount Battalion is the army of the Empire. You and I are soldiers of the Empire. We will never betray the people or our homeland. From today onwards, the person you need to follow is Sir Lin Mu and not me, Long Qianlin. Remember, don't seek revenge for me and don't resent anyone. Your mission is to protect the Empire's territory. Long Qianlin turned around and handed the tiger tally to Lin Mu. His eyes were red as he said, From today onwards, the Flying Mount Battalion will be entrusted to you. All the cavalry commandants looked emotional and shouted, We are willing to follow the general forever. The general can't abandon us like this. Long Qianlin shouted in a low voice, All of you, shut up. Remember, you are the soldiers of the Empire, not the soldiers of me, Long Qianlin. That's all I have to say. 3 Mountain Pass Imperial Guards, assemble and follow me. He turned his horse and left. Lin Mu hurriedly asked, Long Qianlin, where are you going? Long Qianlin turned around. His handsome face was filled with helplessness and despair as he said, The Five Valleys city has changed. Governor Hu Tianning has known me for a long time and has shown me great kindness. He has admonished me to the death and fought to the death. I want to return to the Five Valleys city and die in battle as my final gratitude to the governor. Are you going to rebel with Hu Tianning? Lin Mu shouted. Do I have a choice? Long Qianlin was furious. Lin Mu raised the tiger tally and shouted, Flying Mount Battalion, listen up. Take down Long Qianlin. Long Qianlin suddenly drew his sword and shouted, I want to see who dares to stop me. Long Qianlin. Lin Mu raised her voice and said, Perhaps Hu Tianning originally didn't want to resist the army of Mu City, but your going is tantamount to giving him hope. Do you know that you are helping the evildoer? Do you know how many soldiers will die tragically in Five Valleys City? How many wives will lose their husbands? And how many children will lose their fathers for your insignificant gratitude? Long Qianlin suddenly trembled. He was dressed in military attire, but tears were flowing down his face. He suddenly sheathed his sword and said, Then I will go alone. If I have to die, I, Long Qianlin, will die alone. No one can stop me. With that, the warhorse raised its front hooves and flew out of 3 Mountain Pass. Looking at Long Qianlin's back, Lin Mu's expression was a little lonely. She frowned and said, All commandants, gather. Prepare to assemble the troops and follow me out of the pass. The commandants were dumbfounded. With Long Qianlin gone, Lin Mu had become the highest-ranking person here. They were stunned for a moment, then they all crossed their right hands in front of their chest and saluted, Yes, my lord. In the afternoon, the 17,000 Flying Mount Battalion soldiers and the 3,000 cavalry of Mu City gathered together. The military might was greatly boosted, and they now had an army of 20,000. Lin Mu did not lead this group to Five Valleys City. Instead, he took them straight to Silver Fir City. Silver Fir City was not far from Five Valleys City, and it would allow the Flying Mount Battalion to avoid the chaos of war. At the same time, it could sit between Five Valleys City and Lanyan City. In any case, this Flying Mount Battalion could not be handed over to Su Muyun and Su Qin. They arrived at Silver Fir City in the evening and set up camp outside the city. A group of commandants from the Flying Mount Battalion was sullen, so Lin Muyu called for an impromptu meeting to appease them. He also promised these generals that after the incident at Five Valley City, he would do his best to beg the emperor to save Long Qianlin's life. In fact, from a moral point of view, Lin Muyu also hoped that Long Qianlin's life could be saved. Among the 7 divine generals of the empire, Du Hai was iron-blooded and Xiang Yu was cruel. Feng Jixing, Qin Lei, and the others did not guard the borders. Lin Muyu had also heard of the other generals. Very few of them would treat human life as a big deal. This continent really needed a benevolent general like Long Qianlin. After nightfall, a messenger bird quietly landed at the head of Lin Muyu's bed. She took the letter tube. There was a piece of paper inside with a line of words written on it. "Milord, the captain of the Flame Dragon Mercenary Band, by Lixing, has led 9,000 Flame Dragon mercenaries, and together with 7,000 mercenaries from the Ghost Domain Mercenary Band, a total of 16,000 people have surrounded the Dragon Rocky Mountain. They have threatened to destroy the Longdan army camp. Our army can only defend and not leave. They hope that Milord can send reinforcements immediately." "Luo Yu, the Longdan army camp has been surrounded," Lin Muyu let out a sigh. It just so happened that she had an army of 20,000 cavalry under her command. It could be put to good use. She quickly wrote back, "Defend and not leave. Wait for reinforcements." Chapter 236. On Dragon Rocky Mountain, the flames of war spread. The foot of the mountain was surrounded, and all kinds of flags were fluttering. The Flame Dragon Mercenary Corps and the Ghost Mercenary Corps were the 2 largest unregistered wandering mercenary corps in the North Ridge province. They were also known as the 2 largest rogue corps in the capital. In their eyes, there was no law at all. The only rule was the survival of the fittest. Moreover, the power of these mercenary corps was so strong that the local army of the Qin Empire could do nothing to them. They just let them fight and annex each other. As long as these wandering mercenaries did not attack the government, they would not cause too much chaos. In the big tent of the Flame Dragon Mercenary Corps, the captain, Bailey Xing, was wearing a fiery red armor. He held a scimitar with his bare arms and held a maid in his arms. He picked up a piece of meat with the scimitar and fed it to the maid. Although the maid was smiling, she was trembling all over. If she was not careful, the scimitar would pierce through her head. This kind of thing was not uncommon. Good girl." Bailey Xing smiled and grabbed the maid's chest. He said with a smile, "We have surrounded Dragon Rocky Mountain and cut off their water supply. Let's see how long Luo Yu and Feng Shi can hold on." At the table opposite him, a general in a leather robe also held a beautiful woman in his arms. It was Li Sihua, the captain of the Ghost Mercenary Corps. His face was crisscrossed with more than a dozen scars. His palm moved up and down the legs of the beautiful woman in his arms. He sneered with disdain and said, "It is said that the founder of the Longdan army camp is Lin Muyu, one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan. Isn't Captain Bailey afraid that Lin Muyu and the Imperial Guards will make trouble for you?" Bailey Xing couldn't help laughing. The emperor has the final say in Lanyan City, but in the dragon-seeking forest, does he still have the final say? The Imperial Guards. But the Imperial Guards are nothing in the dragon-seeking forest. I have killed so many people, but I have never killed an Imperial Guard. If Lin Muyu really dares to come, I will not let him leave. Brother Li Sihua, are you afraid? Li Sihua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "What am I afraid of? We have a total of 16,000 soldiers. How many people are there on Dragon Cliff? As long as we destroy the Longdan army camp, I'll say it first, all of their warhorses and weapons will belong to our Ghost Domain mercenary group." Bai Lixing nodded. "Got it. You're really troublesome. You can have it, but this mountain and the prisoners of war in the Longdan army camp will all belong to me. What do you think?" "Great. Let's destroy the Longdan army camp first, then the Tyrant Blade mercenary group, and then the Sacred Flame mercenary group. Then, no one in the North Ridge province will dare to challenge us." Let's drink. Let's drink and wait for Luo Yu to come down the mountain and surrender." Yes, Just as the 2 of them were happily drinking, A mercenary suddenly opened the tent flap and walked in. He knelt down nervously and said, "Captain, something bad has happened." "Why are you in such a hurry? You're ruining my mood." Bai Lixing raised his eyebrows. "Captain, the scouts have reported that about 20,000 soldiers of the Empire carrying the flag of the Flying Mount Camp are charging in the direction of Dragon Cliff Mountain. They're less than 5 kilometers away from here. They'll arrive in 10 minutes. What? Bai Lixing couldn't sit still. He pushed away the maid in his arms, stood up and shouted, "How is that possible? Isn't the Flying Mount Camp stationed in Sangnan Province? What are they doing in the North Ridge Province? Besides, we pay tribute to that old fox Hu Tianning every year. What does he mean by doing this?" The messenger trembled and said, "Captain, the person leading the Flying Mount Camp isn't Long Qianlin. If it's not Long Qianlin, who else can it be? Don't tell me Hu Tianning is leading the troops personally?" "No, it's Lin Muyu." *T. Lin Muyu and Long Qianlin have fought before. How could he be leading the Flying Mount Camp? The scout must have made a mistake. This group of bastards dared to drink when they went out to be sentries. I'll skin them alive when I get back. The messenger was on the verge of tears. Regiment commander, the scout said that what he saw was absolutely true. They are all heavy cavalry, and they will be able to reach the foot of the mountain in 10 minutes. We can't just sit here and wait for death. Bai Lixing roared and kicked the table away. His face was pale. He said, "What can we do in 10 minutes? Li Sihua stood up and said loudly, "Pass down my order. The Ghost Mercenary Corps is to assemble immediately and retreat to the west. We can't stay here any longer." Bai Lixing said angrily, "Li Sihua, what do you mean? Are you going to be a coward at this critical moment? I was forced to come here by you. I don't want to be buried with you." Li Sihua grabbed his long sword and rushed out of the camp. He mounted his horse and shouted, "Ghost Mercenary Corps, retreat." "But not far away," a platoon leader said with a bitter face. "Commander, we can't retreat anymore. A group of heavy cavalry from Muyu City has blocked our path of retreat, and hundreds of our brothers have already been shot dead." "What?" Li Sihua's body trembled. "Damn, let's fight them. Lin Muyu, I'll *CK your grandma." At the foot of Dragon Rocky Mountain, the two mercenary corps were in a mess. But at this moment, the gate on the mountains suddenly opened. Luo Yu led about 5,000 plus heavy cavalries from the Longdan army camp and attacked from the foot of the mountain. From the east, west, and south, the rumbling of war drums could be heard. The Empire's military flags were fluttering in the wind. Numerous elite cavalries had already surrounded them. Most of the mercenary groups were infantrymen. How could they escape? Even if they tried to escape, they would only become the target of the cavalry's attacks. Bai Lixing and Li Sihua were not stupid. Fighting with 20,000 regular cavalrymen on an open field was simply courting death. Moreover, there was still the courage of Dragon Battalion's cavalrymen behind them, who were no weaker than regular soldiers. Hua! A white flag was raised in Bai Lixing's hand. With an ashen face, he said loudly, "Fiery Dragon Mercenary Corps is willing to surrender, willing to surrender. We surrender, please spare our lives." Amidst the clanking sounds, 16,000 people from the two mercenary corps actually surrendered without a fight. Their weapons were thrown on the ground. The mercenaries were so scared by the regular soldiers that their faces turned pale. They knelt on the ground and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Lin Muyu rode out of the crowd with a few captain cavalry. She couldn't help but laugh secretly. What a motley crew! With this kind of combat power, they actually dare to occupy the mountain and call themselves kings. "It's ridiculous," one of the captain cavalry laughed and said, "General, they must have been frightened by the reputation of the Flying Mount Camp." Another commandant wiped the bloodstains off his saber and said with a smile, "I don't think so. They must have been scared out of their wits by the hundreds of people we killed earlier. We killed hundreds of them, but we didn't even lose 10 of our own men." Lin Muyu rode over and looked at Li Sihua and Bai Lixing. She asked, "You two are the commanders of the Fiery Dragon Mercenary Corps and the Ghost Hunter Mercenary Corps?" Bai Lixing knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. I'm Bai Lixing, the commander of the fiery dragon mercenary corps. I'm willing to lead my 9,000 brothers to surrender to the Longdan army camp. Please accept us. I heard that the Longdan army camp has the positions of commander, deputy commander, dragon commander, and tiger commander. I, Bai Lixing, only want to be a dragon commander. Lin Muyu looked at him disdainfully and said with a faint smile, but the Longdan army camp only wants dragons, not dogs. Commander Bai Lixing, how many bad things have you done? Do you still want to join the Longdan army camp? Bai Lixing hurriedly said, I didn't do that. Don't listen to other people's nonsense. At this moment, Luo Yu and Fengxi rushed over. After cupping their fists, Luo Yu sneered and said, My lady, this Bai Lixing has been tyrannical in his area of influence for so many years. He is known as a local tiger. It is said that he has 52 concubines, and his hands are full of blood debts. A month ago, they slaughtered a village in Linzhong Commandery. That night, Bai Lixing killed 17 people with one saber. I see. Lin Muyu turned over and got off the horse. She raised her hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. She smiled at Bai Lixing and said, Turn your head away. It's better if you don't see this kind of scene. Bai Lixing trembled all over. He raised his head and said, My lady, you want to kill me? You want to kill me? Bai Lixing suddenly revealed his fierceness. He grabbed the scimitar and rushed over. However, Lin Muyu's speed was faster. She gently swung her left arm, and a faint golden dragon coiled around it. The blow directly hit Bai Lixing's back. Suddenly, Bai Lixing spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground again. He didn't have any strength to fight back. Swoosh! The blade swept past, and a head rolled out. Bai Lixing had been decapitated cleanly. A group of Flying Mount Battalion's commandants were stunned. They could see that Bai Lixing's strength was not bad. He was already at the third firmament of the Earth realm. However, such a strong man didn't even last one round under Lin Muyu's sword. In an instant they were in awe. Lin Muyu, one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan, wasn't as gentle as she looked. Once she became ruthless, she wasn't inferior to Long Qianlin. Behead Li Sihua of the Ghost Domain mercenary group. Lin Muyu's voice was very calm. She said, Let these mercenaries identify each other. Behead all those who have killed civilians. The rest who are willing to stay in the Longdan army camp can stay. Those who are unwilling can be dismissed. From now on, the Flame Dragon mercenary group and the Ghost Domain mercenary group will no longer exist in this world. Luo Yu smiled slightly. Yes, my lady. Fengxi led everyone to do as she said. At this time, a Flying Mount Battalion's commandant walked forward and whispered, General, isn't it a little too cruel? Lin Muyu didn't deny it. She said, Yes, but so what? A life for a life. This is my rule. My lady is wise. In just half a day, 2 mercenary groups ranked 6th and 8th among the top 10 mercenary groups in Northridge province disappeared. More than 500 people were executed on the spot, more than 11,000 people were dismissed, and more than 4,000 people were selected to join the Longdan army camp. At this point, the Longdan army camp had nearly 14,000 soldiers. It had become the most powerful mercenary group in Northridge province. Moreover, it had a registered identity and was in existence that complied with the empire's laws. While Luo Yu and the others were arranging people to bury the corpses, Lin Muyu had already mounted her horse. She ordered, Flying Mount Battalion, return to Silver Fir City. The majestic heavy cavalry left Dragon Rocky Mountain in the blink of an eye. Perhaps there were more important things waiting for them. Chapter 237. In Five Valley City, the cold wind blew the fallen leaves across the city wall. The 2 soldiers standing guard couldn't help but shiver. Zhang Sen, what do you see over there? At the end of the road. Smoke and dust are billowing. Can you feel the vibration of the earth? Oh my God, what is that? It's heavy cavalry. In an instant, the 2 soldiers looked at the city wall with an ashen face. only to see a man in the uniform of a chiliarch riding a horse past and shouting, "Close the city gate and prepare for defense. From now on, no one is allowed to enter or leave Five Valley City. Someone, immediately sound the war drums for me to warn the enemy from afar." Dong 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 dong. The sound of the war drums echoed and shook the entire Five Valley City. In the governor's office of Five Valley City, Hu Tianning sat there anxiously, frowning and said, "How could this be? How could this be? Where did Long Lin go? Where is his flying mount camp? Where is he when Songnan province needs him the most?" On the side, a masked official with a black veil on his face cupped his fists and said, "Lord Governor, General Long led the flying mount camp to 3 Mountain Pass for training a few days ago. Is this your order?" "Mr. Su, please ask me, what should I do now?" Hu Tianning was already confused. Mr. Su looked calm and said indifferently, "Lord Governor, since Su Qin dared to lead the Muyu City's Iron Cavalry to Five Valley City to denounce us, it means that His Majesty already knows about our private coinage. Su Qin only dared to come under His Majesty's imperial edict. At this time, if we send troops to fight, it is tantamount to confirming the crime of rebellion. Either way, we will die. In my opinion, it is better for us to go out of the city to meet Su Qin's army. Maybe there will be room for negotiation." "Room for negotiation?" Hu Tianning paced back and forth restlessly and said, "Private coinage is a capital crime. What room for negotiation is there?" "Sir, don't forget." Mr. Su smiled and said, "Your nephew, General Xianxia, is still serving as the commander of the military police in the capital. He is in charge of the rewards and punishments for all the high-ranking generals in the imperial army. Even Su Qin is wary of Xianxia. Moreover, you have always been on good terms with Divine Marquis. Even if you are escorted to the capital by Su Qin, as long as Divine Marquis and Xianxia work together to persuade His Majesty to give you a lighter sentence, you can still keep your life. As long as you are alive, with our financial resources, why should we worry about not being able to make a comeback?" Hu Tianning's eyes lit up and he said, "Mister, you mean, my only choice is to leave the city and surrender now?" Mr. Su's eyes were bright as he said, "It's better than fighting to the death." "Don't worry, my lord, you've been operating in Blue South Province for many years and have many disciples. Moreover, we've already stored tens of millions of Jinxing coins near the Qinling Mountains. This subordinate will immediately order someone to bring the gold banknotes to the southern ridge and ask the king of South subduing Qin to plead on your behalf. Even if we can't keep the governorship, we can at least fight for the position of governor of Silver Fir City for you. What does my lord think?" "Okay, do it immediately." Mr. Su quickly turned around and ordered his subordinates. He then walked over and said, "My lord, change your clothes. We should leave the city to welcome Su Qin's army. This Su Qin is known as the most powerful general in the empire. He may not have the patience to wait for us to delay." Hu Tianning put on the governor's uniform and armor as he asked, "How many soldiers are left in the city?" Mr. Su said, 17,000 of the Flying Mount Battalion have been led out of the city by General Long. There are less than 30,000 soldiers in the city. According to reports, there are 70,000 heavy cavalry of Muyu City outside the city. Su Qin and Su Yu have led the Steel Blade Army and the Zither Dragon Army to the city first. They are determined to take Five Valley City. My lord, we should prepare the governor's seal of Blue South Province. That's the only way." Hu Tianning took the seal from his subordinate and caressed the iron box with reluctance. His face was full of sadness as he said, "I didn't expect that I, Hu Tianning, would have such a day. If I knew this day would come, I wouldn't have conspired with the House of Chivalry to mint coins. Damn it. It's all Lin Muyu's fault. Otherwise, the secret of minting coins would not have been exposed. My lord, it's too late to talk about it now. Let's go." Amidst the sound of the war drums, the heavy cavalry of Muyu City outside the city was also noisy. They hit their shields with their swords and shouted together, "Hu Tianning, go out of the city to welcome the great general. Hu Tianning, go out of the city to welcome the great general." Su Qin, dressed in military attire and carrying a saber, rode a sturdy black warhorse and stood under the city wall. He raised his long saber and loudly said to the group of guards on the city wall, "I, Su Qin, have been ordered by His Majesty to arrest Hu Tianning. Don't be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. I'll give you the time it takes to burn a stick of incense. If you don't open the city gate, I will attack the city with 3 armies. I want to see whether the walls of the 5 Valleys city are thicker or the spears of my Iron Blade army are sharper." The guard on the city wall cupped his fists and said, "Great General, this must be a misunderstanding. My lord has always been doing his duty. Why would His Majesty come to arrest my lord? I hope that the great general will investigate. What am I supposed to know?" Su Qin shouted, "Open the gate now, or I'll smash this broken gate with my saber." The guard on the city wall raised his eyebrows and said, "Great General, no matter what, the 5 Valleys city is the central city of Cangnan province. How can you attack as you please? Great General, don't force me. Archers, stand by. If anyone attacks the city, immediately shoot them down." Su Qin was furious. He pulled the reins and turned around. When he arrived in front of a group of Iron Blade Army's heavy cavalry, he raised his long saber and shouted, "The time has come to quell the rebellion for the empire. The governor of the 5 Valleys city, Hu Tianning, is stubborn. Brothers, prepare to attack the city." The war drums sounded like thunder. The heavy cavalry outside the city mounted their horses and prepared to attack. At this moment, with a sudden creak, the heavy iron gate slowly rose. When the gate was completely opened, Hu Tianning appeared in his field of vision with a group of advisors. Su Qin frowned. On the side, a female general of about 30 years old rode a white horse. She looked somewhat similar to Qin Yin. She was Su Yun's younger sister, Su Yu. Su Yu looked at Hu Tianning and the others from afar. She couldn't help but smile and said, "Big brother, it seems that we don't need to attack the city anymore. Hu Tianning, that old fox, knows that he can't do anything and has already compromised." "Heh." Su Qin smiled slightly and led a group of cavalry forward. He placed the long saber on the back of the horse and smiled, "Governor Hu Tianning, long time no see." Hu Tianning hurriedly turned over and dismounted, knelt on the ground, held the governor's seal in his hand and said, "Sinner Hu Tianning greets General Su Qin. Although I don't know why His Majesty has punished me, if the emperor wants me to die, I have no choice but to die. This is the governor's seal of Cangnan province, please examine it." "That's good, Lord, who is really a sensible person." Su Qin smiled and said, "But I still have to do things according to the rules. Someone, bring me the prisoner carriage and help the governor get on it. Also, take over the entire 5 Valleys city." A group of Muyu city soldiers pushed out a prisoner carriage made of steel. This prisoner carriage was very strange. There were thorns protruding from all sides, surrounding the center. It can be imagined that once a prisoner enters the carriage, he will not be able to move. Otherwise, his skin will be pierced by the thorns. This kind of pain can be imagined. Thorn carriage. There was a trace of anger on Hu Tianning's face. "General, what do you mean by this? Are you going to use the thorn carriage on me?" "What?" Su Qin raised his eyebrows. "If you have the guts to mint coins, don't tell me you don't have the guts to sit on this thorn carriage." Hu Tianning was furious. Mr. Su on the side whispered, "Lord Governor, bear with it for a while. Su Qin is a reckless man. There is no benefit in clashing with him." After hearing this, Hu Tianning no longer said anything. He tidied up his clothes and armor and said, "Then as General Su Qin wishes." Su Qin lightly said, "Someone, help Lord Hu Tianning remove his armor." Several heavy cavalry flew forward and quickly took off Hu Tianning's armor. Hu Tianning had never suffered such humiliation. His face was red, but he was angry. Suddenly, a soldier's hand touched Hu Tianning's body. He immediately raised his hand and pulled out the sword at his waist, saying, "How dare you?" Just as Hu Tianning pulled out the sword, a whoosh sound of an arrow leaving the bowstring suddenly came from behind Su Qin. The next moment, a black arrow pierced through Hu Tianning's neck with a poochie sound. Fresh blood flowed out like a pool. Hu Tianing's arm, which was holding the sword, was still in the air. His body slowly fell backward, and he died in an instant. Hu Tianing, dead. Su Qin stood there dumbfounded. He suddenly turned around and looked at the person who shot the arrow. He loudly shouted, "Zhang Santong, you bastard, why did you kill Hu Tianing?" Zhang Santong was a deputy general. Still holding his longbow, he cupped his fists and said, "General, Hu Tianing just pulled out his sword and tried to assassinate you. This subordinate shot him." Su Qin was speechless and angrily said, "Bastard, Her Majesty and Her Highness never said that they wanted to kill Hu Tianing. You are simply putting me in an unjust situation." Zhang Santong hurriedly dismounted from his horse and knelt on the ground, saying, "This subordinate is willing to die. General, please punish me." Forget it. Su Qin looked at Hu Tianing's body and lightly said, "If he dies, then he dies. This kind of villain." At this moment, the sound of horse hooves came from afar. A person holding an iron spear shouted in the crowd, "Get out of the way, get out of the way. Let me pass." The person who came was none other than Long Qianlin, who was in a hurry. The pitiful Long Qianlin saw the corpse of his father-in-law, Hu Tianing, after entering the crowd. The arrow that had pierced through Hu Tianing's throat was stained with black blood. For a moment, Long Qianlin trembled all over. He suddenly dismounted from his horse and knelt on the ground. Tears flowed from his eyes. Sir, you are Long Qianlin?" Su Qin rode his horse over and lightly asked. Long Qianlin didn't say anything. He just carried Hu Tianing's corpse and walked step by step towards the Five Valleys city. "Stop right there." Su Qin violently shouted, "Long Qianlin, how dare you!" At this moment, Long Qianlin had already reached the city gate. When he looked back, his eyes were filled with killing intent. He angrily shouted, "Close the city gate and fight." Chapter 238. Bang! The heavy iron gate slammed down. Long Qianlin handed Hu Tianing's corpse to a deputy general, then he carried his spear and rushed up the city wall. He shouted, "I, Long Qianlin, have returned. Close the city gates and prepare for battle. Archers, get ready, throw stones and roll logs." In terms of prestige in the Five Valleys City Army, Long Qianlin was absolutely second to none. A group of soldiers who were in a trance immediately became spirited after Long Qianlin arrived. They seemed to understand what they should do in an instant. Su Qin was furious when he saw the tense atmosphere on the city wall. He pointed his long saber at the city wall and shouted, "Long Qianlin, Hu Tianing's death was just an accident. Don't be stubborn, or you'll be the one to regret it." Long Qianlin proudly looked at the city wall. The governor's death was an accident? Ha! What a big joke. Then today I want you, Su Qin, to die under the Five Valleys city. Consider it an accident. How dare you? Su Qin shouted, "3 armies, attack the city." The heavy cavalry dismounted one after another, raised their shields and rushed to the city wall. Because they came in a hurry, they did not prepare any siege equipment at all. Only a simple battering ram, protected by a group of heavy cavalry, rushed to the city gate. "Release the arrows." Long Qianlin quickly ordered from the city wall. For a time, arrows fell like rain. Although most of the heavy cavalry's bodies were protected by armor, after all, their necks, faces, and other positions could not be protected. In an instant, hundreds of people were killed. In addition, huge stones fell from the city wall, smashing the soldiers into a pile of minced meat. In an instant, Su Qin was furious. "Big brother." Su Er frowned slightly and said, "At first, we did not think of attacking the city, so the heavy cavalry came to the city. But now it has become a siege. In my opinion, we should wait for Father's army to arrive. They brought ladders, catapults, and other equipment. Otherwise, if we attack the city like this, it is tantamount to sending the heavy cavalry to their deaths." Su Qin clenched his fists and said angrily, "That damn Long Qianlin, I will definitely tear him to pieces. Retreat." But just as the heavy cavalry of Muyu City retreated, Long Qianlin raised his hand with a murderous look on his face and said, Men, prepare the spear and shield formation. Let's give these northern boors a taste of our power. The city gate opened, and about 1,000 plus soldiers of the Five Valleys city came out of the city. They were all soldiers armed with spears and heavy shields. These soldiers were carefully selected. Each of them was very strong and had amazing arm strength. The 1,000 plus people lined up in 10 buckets at the foot of the city. They were shouting, provoking and ridiculing Su Qin in the distance. Bastard! Su Qin waved his long blade and more than 2,000 heavy cavalry rushed over. The heavy cavalry of Muyu City were all carrying javelins. Before they got close, they threw a round of javelins. But after Wang Lin, who was on the city wall, shouted, "Gather," the soldiers of the spear and shield formation assembled their shields like an iron wall. The javelins were deflected with a ding-dang-dang-dang sound, unable to hurt them at all. When the heavy cavalry was in close combat, Wang Lin shouted, "Open!" In an instant, the shields separated as if they were decomposing. An iron spear quickly penetrated through the gaps of the shields and pierced the warhorses. At the same time, the round bucket formation rotated rapidly, diffusing the impact of the cavalry. Like a meat grinder, the heavy cavalry of Muyu City were turned into a pile of flesh and blood. Blood quickly spread under the city wall. "Archers, aim and shoot." Wang Lin continued to order. The soldiers with superb archery skills on the city wall began to shoot one by one. In the blink of an eye, another batch of heavy cavalry of Muyu City fell. The warhorses neighed incessantly. In less than 10 minutes, less than 500 of the 2,000 heavy cavalry were left, while the spear and shield formation of Five Valleys City had lost less than 100 people. Su Yu couldn't stand it anymore and said, "Big brother, we can't fight like this, let the soldiers come back." Su Qin gritted his teeth, clenched his fists and said, "Come back." Su Qin was filled with hatred as he gazed at this city that was famous for its 5 grains and fisheries, and he said, "I swear that I'll definitely raze this city to the ground. Wang Lin, you bastard! I'll fucking tear you apart." In the blink of an eye, night fell. Outside the city, the 70,000 soldiers of Muyu City set up camp. The lights connected for nearly 10 miles, but the city was no longer as quiet as before. Even the people were helping to carry stones, rolling logs, and so on to protect the city. Wang Lin's face was pale. He carried his spear and walked step by step on the stone steps of the city wall. Mr. Su walked beside him and said, "General Long, the governor's body, let's go out of the city and bury him." Wang Lin frowned and asked, "What's the situation at the south gate of Five Valleys City?" "They have sent about 10,000 people to guard it. They can't break through for the time being." "I see." Wang Lin looked up at the sky and said, "Tonight is cloudy, the stars and moon are dim. Prepare to attack Su Qin's camp at night." "Attack at night?" Mr. Su was startled. Although Su Qin is reckless, he is also a man who has been in the army for a long time. It is impossible for him not to guess that we will attack his camp at night. Wang Lin smiled faintly and said, "Yes, I also know that, but we have no other choice. Tonight, at midnight, I will personally lead 5,000 cavalrymen out of the city for a night raid and attack Su Qin's main camp." "Mr. Su, half an hour after I leave the city for the night raid, you will open the 5 southern gates and lead the remaining people out of the city to break out of the encirclement. Take all the family members with you. I will entrust Xiaoyun to Mr.'s care." "General," Mr. Su said with a trembling voice, where can we go after we break through? This whole world belongs to the Emperor. Where else can we go after committing such a rebellious act?" Wang Lin took a deep breath. "Although the land of the northern ridge is vast, there is no place for us to stand. Let's go to the Lingnan. The 4 provinces south of the Qinling Mountains can be our hiding place. By the way, let's go to the Mingshan province, Yu City near Shangyang City. My cousin Lin Yu is in Yu City. If we go to him, I believe the Empire will not chase us there." "General Lin Yu?" Mr. Su was speechless. Lin Yu, one of the legendary 7 divine generals of the Empire, is General's cousin? "Yes, my hometown was originally in Yu City. Go, Mr. Su, go and prepare. We don't have much time. If I, Long Lin, can break through alive, I will go find you and Xiaoyan. Yes. Mr. Su cupped his fists, knelt on the ground and said, all the living people of Five Valleys City will thank General for your kindness. That Su Qin is reckless and cruel. He has been continuously defeated by General. Once the city is breached, he will definitely slaughter everyone. Yes. Late at night, several gates of the north gate of Five Valleys City opened quietly. More than 5,000 cavalrymen, their hooves wrapped in cloth, quickly left the city and went straight to Su Qin's camp in the distance. Long Lin held his iron spear, his face was resolute. He desperately whipped his warhorse, as if he wanted to turn into a gust of wind and blow away the Muyu City army in front of him. Boom! Suddenly, there was a collapse in front of them. Dozens of cavalrymen fell into the pit. The other side was already prepared. Continue to charge, don't stop. Long Lin ordered loudly, front, both flanks, cover with shields, be careful of their bows and arrows. Sure enough, as he expected, countless arrows flew out from both sides of the jungle and bounced off the shields. Of course, many of them directly shot into the bodies of the Five Valleys City cavalrymen. Miserable howls were heard, and in the blink of an eye, dozens of people were killed. At the very front, there was a blazing fire. An entire formation of heavy cavalry was already waiting there. Su Qin held the long saber and the reins, his face full of killing intent. Don't even think about leaving this place alive today. Kill! Long Lin led the crowd and rushed over without saying a word. In an instant, the cavalry of both sides collided and fought. Long Lin urged his horse to gallop. His martial spirit burst out, and the iron spear, like a swimming dragon, continuously penetrated the necks of the opponent's heavy cavalry. In the blink of an eye, dozens of people were killed. His battle robe was full of blood, like a god of war. Behind Long Lin, about 1,000 heavy cavalry of the Five Valleys City followed the god of war closely. There was only one voice in the hearts of the soldiers: follow him, and we can rush out alive. On the other hand, Su Qin was not to be trifled with. His long blade contained the light of Do Qi, and he swept out again and again, chopping off heads. If Long Lin was a god of war, then Su Qin could be called a god of death. Moreover, the number of heavy cavalry of the Iron Blade army far exceeded the opponent. Su Qin constantly ordered the division tactics, and soon, the 5,000 people brought by Long Lin were divided into 7 or 8 pieces, and were digested little by little. In the middle of the night, the sounds of fighting soared to the sky, like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of gods. Screams were everywhere in the jungle, and broken limbs fell on the grass. Life faded away with the wind. Almost everyone's eyes were bloodshot, especially Long Lin. He led more than 1,000 heavy cavalry to repeatedly clash, as if he was entering an uninhabited land. Even in the face of opponents several times his own, he still fearlessly rushed over, as if he was born to kill. The more he fought, the fewer people there were, but more and more people died under Long Lin's spear. While charging, Long Lin calculated the time. Not long after, the spearhead suddenly shook and drilled into the mouth of a heavy cavalry of Muyu City. After a spray of blood, he shouted, "Follow me, break out of the encirclement." However, there were only more than 300 people left. Not long after the charge, a strong enemy appeared in front of them. It was the heavy cavalry of the Zither Dragon army led by Su Yu. Kill! Long Lin rushed over without fear, and his spear was sent out like a dragon. Dang! It was shaken away by Su Yu's sword. But he did not stop. He raised his spear horizontally and gently pushed it back, hitting the back of Su Yu's waist. In the game on the battlefield, Long Lin's ability seemed to be firmly above Su Qin and Su Yu. At this time, at the south gate of Five Valley City, flames soared to the sky. Nearly 30,000 Five Valley City soldiers forcibly broke through, but they were wantonly killed by more than 10,000 heavy cavalry of Muyu City. It was as if the heavens and earth were moved. Soon after, snowflakes fell on the already cold corpses, not melting. Achoo! In the flying mount camp of Kathaya City, under the candlelight, Lin Muyu, who was studying the 7 volumes of victorious tactics passed down by Xiang Wendian, suddenly shivered. He frowned and asked, "What time is it?" A guard replied, "It's the 3rd, General." "Is there any news from Five Valley City?" "Not yet." But Lin Muyu's heart was faintly uneasy. He put down the military book and looked up, passed down the order. The 3 armies immediately set out and rushed to Five Valley City overnight. "It should be now." "Yes, General." Chapter 239. Early in the morning, the snow was still falling. Clouds of smoke rose into the sky around the Five Valley City. Corpses could be seen everywhere. All the civilians in the city did not dare to leave the city. Outside the North Gate, a group of exhausted cavalrymen were dragging the corpses. According to the rules of the Empire, the soldiers who died in battle were not qualified to be buried in their hometown. It was the same for the generals who were below the rank of centurion. All of them were buried on the spot to avoid the stench of the corpses. As if smelling the scent of blood, some wild dogs came out of the jungle to the north of the Five Valley City, devouring the corpses everywhere. Even some young wolves appeared in groups, tearing the corpses of the dead soldiers. The scene looked a little unbearable to watch. After people died, there was no distinction. Whether it was the people of the Five Valley City or the people of the Muyu City, their corpses had become the prey of wild beasts. Tuk tuk tuk. Su Qin's face was ashen. He let the snow fall on his shoulders and head. He looked at the tragic scene on the battlefield and said, "How many of them escaped?" Deputy General Zhang Santong cupped his fists and said, "Reporting to General, less than 20. "Did you find Long Qianlin's body?" "No, bastard." Su Qin punched the saddle and said, "We had 70,000 men surrounding the city and Long Qianlin escaped. This is a great shame for the Iron Blade Army." Zhang Santong's face was pale and he did not dare to say anything. At this moment, Su Yu, who was inspecting the battlefield, also rode her horse over. Her originally elegant face was stained with blood. She raised her hand to wipe it off, but she did not manage to wipe anything off. She walked toward Su Qin and said, "Big brother, I've been to the southern battlefield. How is the situation?" Su Qin asked. Su Yu moved her red lips and wanted to say something but stopped. I asked you how is the situation," Su Qin said with a heavy tone. Su Yu took a deep breath and said, "Big brother, the 10,000 cavalrymen we arranged at the south gate suffered a fierce attack last night. The defenders in the city rushed out and caused great damage to us." "How many people did we lose?" "Tell me." "More than 7,000 died, more than 2,000 were seriously injured and 4,000 to 5,000 were lightly injured." "So you said, what?" Su Qin's body trembled slightly. His eyes were filled with hatred as he said, "That traitor Long Qianlin. He killed a total of 20,000 elite cavalrymen of my Twilight Rain city in a single battle. What a goddamn traitor." With that, Su Qin's body shook slightly and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The arrow wound on his chest oozed blood again. "Big brother, are you okay?" Su Yu asked. I'm fine." Su Qin looked at the Five Valleys city with a pair of cold eyes and murmured, "The warriors of Cloud Province have suffered such a setback in this cursed city. It's all my fault. Come on to pass down my order. After the 3 armies are reorganized, enter the Five Valleys city and slaughter the city." He said it casually, but Su Yu's whole body trembled. "Big brother, how could we do this? Why not?" Su Qin's eyes were cold as he said, "That's what our ancestors did. Any city that dares to rebel will be massacred. If we don't massacre them, how will these ambitious dogs know that the prestige of the empire cannot be violated? You don't have to say anything. I know you have good intentions. Leave this matter to me." "But big brother," Su Yu sighed and said, "The Five Valley City is one of the 7 major cities of the empire. It has a population of 2.4 million. Are you planning to kill all 2.4 million people?" "No, massacre the city for 3 days. Kill as many as you can." Su Qin clenched his fists and said, I've made up my mind. No one should say anything else. Otherwise, you will be punished according to military law. A trace of disappointment flashed across Su Yu's face. She cupped her fists respectfully and said, "Yes, General. This subordinate has no objections." Heavy snow was still falling on the ground. The Steel Blade Army and the Zither Dragon Army began to cook. Smoke rose from the chimneys. After breakfast, they would start a massacre. The order to massacre the city for 3 days had been issued. Apart from Su Yu, no one seemed to feel that there was anything wrong with it. There were too many precedents like this. The soldiers discussed animatedly with smiles on their faces. The unruly people of the Five Valleys city have raised a tiger in their bosom, allowing Hu Tianning to be so daring as to rebel. He deserves to be killed. A soldier with a face full of beard sneered as he drank the cold meat soup. Another soldier with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks said with a face full of lust, "Hey, let's make this clear. I'll choose first from the girls our Silver Spear Battalion has plundered." "Wang Ergu, you pervert. Sooner or later you'll die on a woman's belly." A fat soldier laughed loudly. Wang Ergu said with a smile, "There's a saying that if you die under a peony flower, you'll be dissolute even as a ghost. I've long heard that the girls of the Five Valleys city are all plump and tender. Hey, I've never played with them before. This opportunity has finally come. Bullsh *T, haven't you played enough? Anyway, when we massacre the city later, let's compete and see who kills more unruly people. The one who kills the least will treat us. How about it?" Okay, it's a deal." Basically, this kind of conversation was going on in the barracks. Massacring the city was a disaster for the people, but for the soldiers who participated in the massacre, it was a crazy feast. Money, women, killing, lust, all of these would be infinitely magnified at this moment. At this moment, there was no longer any crime, only the most primitive desire. After breakfast, nearly 50,000 heavy cavalry mounted their horses, while Su Qin carried his long blade and stood in front of the crowd. At this moment, suddenly, a deputy general rode over with a group of about 300 plus Five Valleys city civilians behind him. The corner of his mouth had a sinister smile as he said, "General, this group of unruly people actually wanted to secretly escape from the slope of the city wall on the west side. I discovered them in time and have specially come to hand them over to the general to deal with." Su Qin's eyes were cold, and he stretched out his hand and made a kill gesture. "First Battalion, follow me." The deputy general shouted. The phalanx of 500 cavalrymen immediately rushed over, their spears piercing and their broadswords slashing. Puff, puff, puff. With a puff, puff, puff sound, blood spurted out, and screams sounded one after another. Regardless of the old or the young, they were all beheaded. In the blink of an eye, more than 300 civilians were dead, and finally, there was only a child about 4 or 5 years old left standing in the pile of corpses, crying loudly. Su Qin's eyes swept over and lightly asked, "What's wrong? Can't bear to do it?" Zhang Santong quickly raised his longbow, and with a whoosh, an arrow flew out and directly shot through the child's heart. The strength of the arrow was too fierce, and the arrow was infused with true qi, directly blasting a big hole in the child's chest. His entire heart was instantly crushed, and the child did not even have the chance to scream before he died. He died on the spot. "Prepare to enter the city." Su Qin raised his long blade. But at this moment, the ground suddenly trembled slightly, and messy and dense sounds of horse hooves came from afar. Su Qin immediately frowned and asked, "What's going on?" A light cavalryman galloped over, cupped his fists, and said, "Reporting to the great general, the general of the south, Lin Muyu, is leading nearly 20,000 heavy cavalrymen on the main road. It seems to be the army of the Flying Mount Camp." "Oh, it's you." Su Qin laughed and said, "That kid transferred the Flying Mount Camp from Long Qianlin's hands, minimizing the losses of our army. It can be considered a great contribution. Since he is also here, then share some of the credit for the massacre of the city with him. Let's wait for a while, and let you lead his men into the Five Valleys city to massacre the city." Not long after, the neat silhouettes of the flying Mount Camp soldiers appeared on the horizon. Lin Muyu, who was dressed in the white robe of the divine temple, rode his horse at the forefront. He could see Su Qin, Su Yu, and the mess around the battlefield from afar. He couldn't help but frown. Sure enough, things didn't go as smoothly as he had imagined. A fierce battle had finally broken out in the Five Valleys city. You're here? Su Qin laughed and said, since you've taken control of the flying Mount Camp, it's already a great contribution. Lin Muyu cupped his fists and said, your subordinate pays his respects to the great general. Hey, why are you so polite? Su Qin raised his arm and said, look, the Five Valleys city is already in our pocket. Lin is stubborn and has lost so many of my soldiers. It's really hateful. I've already given the order to massacre the city. You, since you're here, I'll give you the credit. Now, lead your men into the city and kill to your heart's content. Massacre the city? Lin Muyu's body trembled. His eyes fell on the more than 300 corpses of the civilians in front of him. His heart was in turmoil. He turned to look at Su Qin and murmured, General Su Qin, these civilians were killed by you? Yes, they tried to escape in vain. They only have themselves to blame. Is that so? Lin Muyu desperately suppressed his anger. He cupped his fists and said, General, I think that since we've taken the city, we've already completed His Majesty's edict. There's no need to kill civilians anymore. What did you say? Su Qin was stunned. These civilians and the traitors killed 20,000 of my Twilight Rain City's warriors. You're asking me not to massacre the city? Yes. Lin Muyu looked at him with a resolute gaze. Then she pointed behind her and said, there are 17,000 people from the Flying Mount Battalion behind me. Most of them are from Wugu City. Are you going to ask them to kill their own people? General, Hu Tianing's rebellion has nothing to do with these civilians. They're innocent. Enough, Lin Muyu. Su Qin suddenly said sternly, I didn't bother with you because you're the Emperor's adopted son. But you dare to pester me like this? Get out of my way. I, Su Qin, will massacre the entire Five Valleys city. Lin Muyu was startled. He suddenly laughed at himself and pointed at the steel blade army behind Su Qin. He said loudly, you're all soldiers of the Empire. You're all familiar with the family's teachings. Tell me, as a soldier, isn't it your duty to guard the land and protect your own people? If you massacre the entire city, what qualifications do you have to wear the purple Yinhua emblem? Lin Muyu, how dare you? Su Qin said angrily. Su Er rode forward and said, Enough, don't say any more. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and waved his hand. He shouted, Flying Mount Camp, enter the city and defend it. Whoever dares to kill the people of the Five Valleys city will be our enemy. Kill without mercy. Chapter 240. Lin Muyu, how dare you? Su Qin was furious. He jumped from the horse's back, and his dou qi overflowed. He condescendingly slashed towards Lin Muyu, his eyes full of killing intent. This was probably the first time Su Qin had been humiliated like this. Lin Muyu looked up at Su Qin, her eyes full of contempt. Wang! The golden gourd martial soul came out of his body and instantly condensed into a golden gourd wall. Black tortoise shell and dragon scale wall were added one after another. He was going to use the defense of his martial soul to take this attack. Bang! Light splashed, and Su Qin's attack was directly bounced back. But as a great general, how could he still have any face after such a collision? He raised his sword and slashed in an arc. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth, and his dou qi quickly poured into his left arm. His divine power was enshrouded in a golden dragon-shaped psionic energy, as if forming a shield, and blasted towards Su Qin's sword. Dang! The moment Su Qin's sword touched Lin Muyu's arm, there was a sound of metal colliding with stone, and the blade immediately collapsed. What? Su Qin turned around and landed on the horse. Looking at the short sword in his hand, the horror in his heart was extreme. This was a mysterious grade 3 treasure sword, yet it was blocked by Lin Muyu with his bare hands and broke. "Enter the city." Taking advantage of Su Qin's shock, Lin Muyu waved his hand, and suddenly a group of cavalry captains of the Flying Mount camp took advantage of the situation and led the army into the Five Valley City. At this moment, this group of cavalry captains really submitted to Lin Muyu, the temporary commander. They were willing to challenge Su Qin for the sake of the Five Valley City. In Lin Muyu, they even saw the shadow of Long Qianlin. Why are you doing this?" Su Yu sighed. Lin Muyu cupped her hands and said, "I am the adopted son of the emperor. Speaking of which, I should call you uncle or Aunt Luan. However, once the city is massacred, the empire will lose the hearts of the people of Five Valley City. This is not a price that the lives of 20,000 soldiers can pay. I hope uncle will think twice. Lin Muyu has no intention of disobedience. I just don't want uncle to disobey the emperor's order and massacre the city here." Indeed, Qin Jin's imperial edict had never mentioned massacring the entire city. Thus, as long as Lin Muyu spoke a few words in front of the emperor, even Su Qin would be in danger. Thinking of this, Su Qin gritted his teeth, cupped his fists, and said, "General Lin is right. I was negligent. In that case, I will station my troops outside the city and wait for Father and Her Highness Yin to come. I will see what they have to say." "All right." Lin Muyu turned his horse around and led the army to officially enter Five Valley City. At this moment, he had become the temporary master of Five Valley City. At this time, Five Valley City was already in chaos. Thieves were running rampant and looting everywhere. A large number of people were planning to escape from the South Gate with their families. Many people seemed to have received the news that Su Qin was about to massacre the city, and they were all scared out of their wits. "Seal all the city gates." As Lin Muyu walked, he said to the cavalry captain next to him, "Send out the Flying Mount Battalion, a team of 10 people. Send more to maintain law and order in the city. Don't let the Five Valley City continue to be chaotic. Also, transfer 10,000 people to guard the city gates to prevent Su Qin from attacking the city." "Yes, General." A cavalry captain followed closely and asked, "General, will Commander Su Qin really attack the city?" "Probably not, but not necessarily. Restore the law and order of Five Valley City first." "Yes." Another cavalry captain came over, cupped his fists and said, "General, I have inquired about what you wanted to inquire about. Just yesterday, Hu Tianning went out of the city and offered Five Valley City to Su Qin, but he was shot and killed by one of Su Qin's deputy generals. This caused General Long Qianlin to lead the army to fight against the Iron Blade army. Late last night, Long Qianlin led 5,000 people to attack Su Qin's camp. He covered the rest of the people from the South Gate and took Hu Tianning and Long Qianlin's families to the Qinling Mountains." "So that's how it is." Lin Muyu stepped into the city lord's hall and said, "Did Long Qianlin break out in the end?" "I don't know. It was too chaotic last night. No one knows if General Long Qianlin managed to escape, but Su Qin has been looking for General Long's body, so General Long's whereabouts are unknown." Lin Muyu sighed. "I hope Long Qianlin can escape this disaster." The cavalry captain stepped forward, knelt on one knee, cupped his fists and said, "General Lin, on behalf of all the soldiers of Five Valley City, I thank the general. Thank you for saving the lives of millions of people in Five Valley City by yourself. Get up." Lin Muyu waved his hand and said, "His Majesty sent me and Highness Yin to Muyu City to ask for reinforcements, but he did not order me to slaughter the city. This is what I should do. If I really slaughter the people of Five Valley City today, I am afraid that His Majesty will leave a bad name in Songnan Province because of me." "Yes, General is wise. Don't talk so much, go and strengthen the city's defenses." "Yes, this general will go." At night, the servants of the governor's mansion prepared a quite sumptuous dinner. Lin Muyu asked the group of cavalry captains to stay for dinner. As for the 3,000 people brought from Muyu City, they were asked to leave the city and return to Su Qin's camp. It was not a good thing to keep them in the city. It was equivalent to putting a time bomb around them. Later, a group of civil officials entered the governor's hall and saluted. One of them unfolded a scroll and said, "General, we have been ordered to count the treasury of the governor's mansion. The details are as follows. There are more than 24 million Jinin coins, about 2,100 kilograms of gold, silver and jade. In addition, there are countless antiques, more than 40,000 weapons, more than 3,000 calligraphy and paintings of famous people, and 200,000 stones of grain. Although Five Valley City is rich, most of the wealth has been taken away by Mr. Su and his troops." Lin Muyu frowned. "They brought so much gold and silver with them, do you think they can escape?" One of the cavalry captains stepped forward and whispered in Lin Muyu's ear, "General, the scouts reported that Su Qin has sent a 10,000-man cavalry team to chase after the governor's mansion's family 6 hours ago. This general suspects that Commander Su Qin's real intention is the gold and silver. Moreover, with Commander Su Qin's current temper, as long as he catches up, the family will most likely die. Should we send troops out of the city? What for?" Lin Muyu shook his head and said, "There is no need. I have already offended Commander Su Qin. I can't offend him again and again. Besides, it's too late to send people out now. Order the officials in the city to send food supplies to the 50,000 troops outside the city on time every day. No one can touch the gold and silver of the governor's mansion. Wait for the people sent by the imperial capital to count." "No, what's wrong, sir? How many Jinin coins are in the governor's mansion's treasury?" 24 million. "Tell the clerk to record 24 million, and exchange the remaining 1 million into gold notes and give it to me. I can't protect the Five Valleys City for nothing." The cavalry commandant smiled. "All right, I'll do as you say." Soon after, 1 million gold notes were in his hands. They could be exchanged for Jinin coins at any gold bank in the empire, provided that there was enough cash in the gold bank. In fact, Lin Muyu originally did not intend to deduct the money from the Five Valley City, but the Longdan army camp was expanding again and needed money too much. This money could not be allocated by the Ministry of Revenue of Lanyan City, so Lin Muyu could only think of a way herself. Besides, even if Lin Muyu did not use the 24 million Jinin coins, someone else would naturally use it. At that time, it would not be worth it. The next day, he directly sent 1 million gold notes to Luoyu. In this way, the Longdan army camp's recent expenses would definitely not be a problem. On the 7th day, Su Miyun and Qin Yin finally arrived. 100,000 infantrymen appeared in the Zhangnan province and quickly recovered all the prefectures and counties. As a result, the power of the entire Zhangnan province fell into the hands of Qin Yin. At noon, banners fluttered in the distance, and the advance guards arrived at the foot of the city. Lin Muyu ordered the city gates to be opened wide to welcome Qin Yin and Duke Yun. She also personally led the civil and military officials of the Five Valleys City out of the city to welcome them. A large group of people stood shivering in the snow and waited for more than an hour. Finally, Su Miyun, Qin Yin, and the others came out of the snow. At the same time, Su Qin and Su Yu also accompanied them. "Big brother Yu." Qin Yin turned over and dismounted from the horse. She walked over with a smile. She had already changed into the princess cloak, and looked extremely graceful and luxurious. Lin Muyu walked forward and looked at Su Muyun from afar. Suddenly, she stood in the snow, crossed her fists in front of her chest, and gave an imperial military salute. She said in a deep voice, "Lin Muyu apologizes to Duke Yun." Su Muyun brushed off the snow on his shoulder armor and said with a smile, "You, what do you mean by apologizing to me?" Lin Muyu said, "I occupied the Five Valleys City without authorization and blocked Su Qin and Su Yu's army outside the city. Other than the crime of acting alone, I also committed the crime of disrespecting my elders. I ask Duke Yun to forgive me." "So it's this?" Su Muyun squinted his eyes and asked with a smile, Can you tell me why you stopped Su Qin from massacring the city?" Lin Muyu took a deep breath and looked up at Su Muyun, who was on the horse. She said, "Massacring the city can establish prestige, but His Majesty is a benevolent ruler. He doesn't need to do this. A little massacring the city will cause His Majesty to lose the people's support, and the consequences will be unimaginable. A wise ruler should be respected by the officials and loved by the people, not loved by the officials and respected by the people. Su Muyun laughed loudly and dismounted. He helped Lin Muyu up from the snow and said, I can rest assured with you assisting Xiao Yin in the future. Get up, get up. What crime did you commit? Come into the city with me. Yes, Duke Yun. Although Su Muyun was very benevolent, Lin Muyu still felt a little unsettled. Many truths in this world were not as simple as they seemed on the surface, and the scene in front of her was no different. Not long after they entered the city, news came from afar. The commander of the Imperial Guards, Feng Jixing, led 5,000 Imperial Guards and would arrive at the Five Valleys city in 2 hours. Moreover, they came under the Emperor's Imperial Edict. Chapter 241. Feng Jixing's face was full of respect as he held the golden Imperial Edict in his hands and walked up the stone steps of the governor's manor. Behind him, a group of high-ranking Imperial Army generals followed closely. Among them was a general with a face full of beard and 2 gold stars on his collar. His military rank was very high and he was the deputy commander of the Imperial Army, Si Kongfen. He was a powerhouse at the first level of Heaven Realm. Su Muyun, Su Qin, Lin Muyu, and the others knelt on one knee on the cold stone floor and said in unison, "We accept the Imperial Edict." Feng Jixing smiled and unfolded the scroll. The fate of the great Qin is decided by the heavens and by the Emperor. The Emperor has ordered that General Su Qin will be rewarded with 10,000 hectares of fertile land and 100,000 Jinin coins for his contribution in quelling the rebellion. General Lin Muyu escorted Her Highness Qin Yin to Muyu City with the Imperial Edict and was rewarded with 100,000 Jinin coins. Today, the commander of the Imperial Army, Feng Jixing, will lead his troops to Wugu City to take over all the military and political power. The deputy commander of the Imperial Army, Si Kongfan, will be appointed as the governor of Tsangnan Province and will be in charge of all the military and political affairs in the province. The flying cavalry battalion that Lin Muyu controls will be handed over to Feng Jixing to bring back to Lanyan City. I have not seen General Yun for a long time. Please, General Yun, Su Qin, Su Yu, Her Highness Qin Yin, and Lin Muyu to return to Lanyan City together with me. All the troops of Muyu City must return to their camps within 3 days without any delay. I accept the Imperial Edict. Su Muyun slowly stood up and took the Imperial Edict from Feng Jixing's hands. Feng Jixing took a step forward and held Su Muyun's arm. He smiled and said, "Duke Yun is old, but you are still able to work hard for the country. His Majesty has instructed before that Duke Yun is to go to Lanyan City with the etiquette of a duke. There's nothing you don't need." Su Muyun cupped his fists in gratitude and said to the West, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for your grace." Su Qin said, "General Feng, it's been a long journey. Let's rest in Five Valleys City tonight. Let's set off for Lanyan City tomorrow to meet His Majesty. What do you think?" "Of course." Feng Jixing smiled. "I will listen to your arrangements." "All right. Tonight, I'll set up a banquet at the governor's mansion. Don't leave until you're drunk." At dusk, the heavy snow had stopped. The setting sun brought with it a faint warmth as it shone on the administrative hall of the governor's mansion. Qin Yin was lazily lying on the chair beside the huge office table. She pushed away the documents on the table and stretched her body. At this moment, her demeanor was peerless and intoxicating. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Si Kongfan swallowed their saliva at the same time. "Big brother, you come here." Qin Yin smiled and beckoned. Lin Muyu stood up from the chair in front of the desk, hugged the silver helmet, and asked, "What's wrong, Xiao Yin? Come here and help me take a look." "Okay." He came to Qin Yin's side. Qin Yin naturally took his hand and said with a smile, "Look at this military report. Five Valleys City originally had 120,000 soldiers. Now there are only 60,000 soldiers?" Lin Muyu nodded. In the battle outside Five Valleys City, the 70,000 soldiers led by Su Qin and Long Qianlin's garrison suffered losses on both sides. That night, Long Qianlin commanded the garrison to escape with his family. Tens of thousands of people were chased and killed. In addition, more than 10,000 people from the Flying Mount camp have been removed from the provincial army. So, Sangnan province can be said to be short of soldiers and generals. I see. Qin Yin blinked and looked up at him. She suddenly smiled warmly and said, Uncle has a violent temperament. This matter has wronged you. You, don't be angry. Uncle is not a heinous person. It's just that sometimes his loyalty to the empire makes him unable to distinguish right from wrong. At this time, Feng Jixing coughed and said, Your Highness, this time, it's all thanks to you strong obstruction. Otherwise, once General you massacred the city, it would definitely shock the world. You should know, there hasn't been such a thing in the empire for decades. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid His Majesty would inevitably be labeled as a tyrant by the world. Qin Yin smiled slightly. Yes, I also understand this. Things have changed with the passage of time. Some of the laws and rules of the empire are obviously no longer in line with this era. After returning to Lanyan City, I will talk to my imperial father and let him issue a national edict to strictly abolish the law of massacring the city. Feng Jixing cupped his fists. Then, I will first thank Your Highness for your kindness on behalf of the world. Si Kongvan also smiled slightly and said, Your Highness is wise and brilliant. Qin Yin chuckled. Don't praise me, it's useless. General Si Kongfan, I don't have the power to promote your military position and status. Besides, after the Battle of Wugu City, Sangnan province is in chaos. There's a shortage of soldiers. Although you has worked hard to maintain it for many days, it still hasn't reached its original level. In the future, you still have to rely on yourself to manage it. General Si Kongfan, you must replenish Wugu City with more than 100,000 soldiers as soon as possible. After all, this city is one of the 7 major cities of the empire. It won't do without enough defenders. Si Kongfan cupped his fists and said respectfully, This subordinate obeys. Si Kongfan will not disappoint Your Highness. That's good. Qin Yin stood up and looked Lin Muyu in the eye. She smiled and said, Brother Yu, I'll have to trouble you during the banquet. Later, Xiao Yin will accompany you to apologize to Uncle and ask him to forgive you for your previous disrespect, okay? Qin Yin held his hand tightly. There was a wronged expression on her beautiful face. She was acting cute and coquettish. Naturally, Lin Muyu couldn't say anything. Besides, Qin Yin's action was indeed reasonable and appropriate. It was indeed what she should do. Lin Muyu also understood that since she came to this world, she had to learn to follow the rules of this world. At least, she had to do so before she had the power to overturn this world. Yes, okay, let's go and apologize together. Okay. Qin Yin smiled sweetly, but it made Feng Jixing and Si Kongfan so envious that they touched their noses together. They looked at each other and smiled. Everything was said without words. The banquet was very grand. About 100 people attended. Qin Yin sat in the host's seat, accompanied by Su Muyun, Su Qin, Feng Jixing, Si Kongfan, and the others. Lin Muyu's position was slightly lower, so she could only sit with Zhang Wei, Luo Lai, and a few other Imperial Army Kiliarchs. General Jinan belonged to the 4th rank of the Empire's military system. Naturally, he couldn't sit with Su Qin, who was the 1st rank. No matter how great Lin Muyu's contributions were, this rule couldn't be broken. Five Valleys City was rich and populous, so there was naturally a lot of food and wine stored in the city. In addition, there were many beautiful women in Five Valleys City. Even the maids who held the wine jug were quite beautiful. Zhang Wei and Luo Lai chatted happily, but Lin Muyu held her wine cup and drank cup after cup. She looked at Su Qin, Si Kongfan, and the others from afar and felt a little disgusted. After 3 rounds of wine, when everyone was a little tipsy, Qin Yin held a jade cup in one hand and lifted the hem of her skirt with the other. She walked to Lin Muyu's side and said with a smile, Brother Yu, let's go and apologize. Lin Muyu untied his sword and placed it on the table. He picked up his wine cup and stood up. Qin Yin naturally held his arm, looking like a brother and sister. The two of them came before Su Qin. Qin Yin's face was filled with a bewitching, sweet smile. She said, "Uncle, brother, you and I have come to apologize to you. I hope you can forget the unhappy things that happened in Five Valleys City, okay?" Su Qin was stunned. He quickly cupped his fists and said, "I dare not, Your Highness." Lin Muyu held the cup with both hands and said, "General, I have offended you before. I hope you can forgive me." "You? Don't be so polite. I was indeed a little impulsive at that time. Since we are family, let's not talk too much. Come, let's drink this cup of wine and pretend that nothing happened." "Yes." The wine was very sweet. Su Qin drank this cup of wine and put it down. He raised his eyebrows and once again cupped his fists and bowed to Qin Yin. He said with a smile, "Xiao Yin, I did not go to Lanyan City to see His Majesty empty-handed. Did Uncle bring a gift for Imperial Father?" "Of course." Su Qin chuckled and said, "Does Xiao Yin want to see it?" "Of course, show it to me quickly." "Okay." Su Qin clapped his hands and said loudly, "General Zhang Santong, bring the gift here." Zhang Santong walked in from outside with a silver box. His dark blue cloak fluttered in the wind. He was in high spirits, as if he had done something great. He handed the box to Qin Yin and said respectfully, "Your Highness, this is General's gift to His Majesty." "Open it." "Yes." The moment the box was opened, Qin Yin let out a low scream and turned around to throw herself into Lin Muyu's arms. Lin Muyu hugged Qin Yin with one arm and leaned over to take a look. To her surprise, there was a bloody human head in the box. The blood had already frozen into frost. The dead man's eyes were wide open, as though he had died with a grievance. It was as though he was about to come back to life at any moment. It was none other than Hu Tianning. Lin Muyu's heart sank. He closed the box and held Qin Yin's slender waist with one hand. He turned around and asked, "General, how did Hu Tianning's head come about?" Su Qin raised his eyebrows and said, "A few days ago, I ordered Zhang Santong to lead the elite cavalry to hunt down Hu Tianning and Long Qinlin's family members. We even intercepted their remaining members just now, so we chopped off Hu Tianning's head as a gift to His Majesty. Hu Tianning was so daring that he minted coins privately. He deserved to die. Your Highness, what do you think of this gift?" Qin Yin was startled by the gift in the box. She regained her composure and said with a calm gaze, "I believe that Father will be very satisfied with this gift." "Ah, that's good." Su Qin raised his hand and drank another glass of wine. The red wine flowed down the corner of his mouth like blood. Zhang Santong walked out with the box. Lin Muyu hurriedly chased after him. She stepped on the snow in the Governor-General's manner and asked, "General Zhang, please wait a moment." "What's wrong, General Lin? Is something the matter?" Zhang Santong asked respectfully. "Since we caught up to Hu Tianning's body, then do we have any information on Long Qinlin's whereabouts?" Lin Muyu asked. Zhang Santong grinned and said, "Long Qinlin, that treacherous traitor, has probably died in the chaos? I didn't see him." "Then, what about Hu Tianning and Long Qinlin's family members?" "We've captured them all. They're locked up in the Five Valleys City's imperial prison." "I see, yes. General, I'm going to check on them." "Excuse me." All right." You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.